This show is part of the retrospectives.com podcast network.
Recording! Okay, we're ready to go. This is what you can look forward to on episode 151 of Skywalking Through Neverland.
Happy New Year!
Captain America Civil War. I thought that for a dark movie, it did a really good job. Moana, La La Land, Jessica Jones on TV, The Crown on TV, Hidden Figures I mentioned, Timeless.
I bet you your picture is up in a break room somewhere and it says, watch out for this guy.
The hills are alive. Oh.
With the sound of lava. And she looked over at me and gave me the thumbs up, then the thumbs down.
The moment when he lifted the guy and threw him on the ceiling and passed him and then cut him, see, that is like multitasking. First of all,
the Skywalking listeners have popped in because I've seen a rise in kindness.
Yeah, tell that to Conjure Club.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Hello, Skywalkers.
Listen! Up to Neverland!
I only hope that we never lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse.
Wow. Oh,
You are skywalking through Neverland.
Happy New Year, Skywalkers! And welcome to our year-end wrap-up on Skywalking Through Neverland. We're going to be talking with a lot of friends on this episode about 2016 and beyond. Now, this year had several highlights and, unfortunately, several devastating low points. But I can say, personally, one of my high points was having my sweetie wife, Sarah, right here with me.
Aw, how sweet is that? And one of my high points was being with you this whole year, of course. And also that all of our Skywalkers are listening right now. So thank you, Disney and Star Wars fans and Skywalkers, for tuning in each and every week. And if you're new, welcome to our Skywalker family. You are now a Skywalker, Tweetwalker, Scopewalker. I love it.
Yeah, and judging by our download numbers, we're getting a lot of new family members right now.
Yes, we are. It's very exciting. We're growing. So we want to thank you so much for joining us. And we are happy this episode to have some of our friends on the show, like Bryan Young from Full of Sith, Tricia Barr, my Fangirls Going Rogue co-host, Mark Daniel, who is the Star Wars Celebration warm-up guy, and Tyler Westhouse
from the Star Wars Podcast Alliance group.
That's right. So they're all going to tell us what they thought of this past year and the year ahead. And we're going to go into it too.
Yeah, we're also being watched by our Scope Walkers and our Facebook Walkers.
Our face
walkers.
Yes,
that doesn't
face
sound right at all.
walkers.
All right. So if you people have anything you want to say, well, now's the time, and please chime in. So let's start with the first question. What were we all looking forward to at the beginning of 2016?
Yeah, so let's dial it back a year at the beginning of 2016.
Sarah, what were you really looking forward to a year ago?
Okay, well, surprisingly, The Force Awakens was still in full swing, right? It was in the theaters. It was doing gangbusters in terms of the box office, and it was so exciting to follow that I just remember not being as excited about Rogue One. I didn't really know what that movie would be about. I mean, I did, but the war movie thing kind of made me take a step back on that.
You were very distant to the whole idea, weren't you?
A little bit, yeah. And plus, The Force Awakens was so big. So I just thought nothing could compare to The Force Awakens at that point. So surprisingly, I was not looking forward to Rogue One. So my answer is I was looking forward to Zootopia a lot because I knew that's the Fox and the Bunny movie, and we love foxes and bunnies here. So it was the perfect movie.
It was the perfect you movie.
It was. And we were also looking forward to the Kessel Run Challenge, which is, of course, the Star Wars half marathon at Disneyland and Walt Disney World, the very first one. So excited about that. And then in terms of podcasting, Fangirls Going Rogue had just broken off as our own show. So we were kind of excited about the freedom that allowed us and where we could go with it.
Yeah. And a lot of these scope walkers are also saying Rogue One, and someone had said something about joining the 501st.
Oh,
it's on this
cool.
little tiny screen, so I couldn't really see it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think Rogue One is a given, and I was so looking forward to it because this was episode 3.999.
Oh.
And it led right into Star Wars, so I was really looking forward to not just the movie, but how they were going to shoot it and how they were going to structure it right around episode 4. So
Yes.
I was really, really excited on that level.
Okay.
I'm surprised to hear that not a lot of people were excited about Rogue One at the beginning of 2016. I think a lot of people were just distant to the whole idea of something that was not within the saga. Mm-hmm. But that's what really, really excited me.
Okay.
Now, something else I was really looking forward to at the beginning of 2016, I wanted more Star Wars Land announcements.
Okay.
We didn't really get that many. We got some concept sketches,
Right.
and some paintings, so I loved seeing that. And at Disneyland, we could always see the progress of Star Wars Land when we stood on top of the parking structure and took our videos. But I wanted to hear more about what was going to be included in the land. I wanted to hear a date. And I knew that was going to be still a few years down the line, but I just wanted more concrete evidence that it was coming and coming very, very soon.
Right. I can definitely see that. Now, in terms of podcasting, what were you looking forward to in 2016?
I was looking forward to talking to a lot of people that had an impact on my life. Like Donald Wicks had gotten us connected with Don Post Jr., and I was really looking forward to that at the beginning of 2016, but I was saving it for Halloween since he is the son of the godfather of Halloween. So I was looking forward to that and looking forward to speaking with a lot of people that really had an impact on my Star Wars nostalgic fandom. And I can say that I think we pretty much hit a lot of those guests in the last couple of months. So I'm very, very happy about that. And I was really looking forward to a lot of hype. I love hype. I love hype. I love hype with the movies. I love hype with just about anything when it comes to merchandising and Force Friday and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I was looking forward to a lot of episode 8 hype.
Nice.
I know I was getting ahead of myself there, but still, when we saw that first shot of Luke that Ryan Johnson had, the video he had released.
Okay.
I don't know if it was him or StarWars.com, but they took that. They went behind the scenes on the making of episode 8, and they took that first shot of Luke Skywalker, that close up. So at that point, we had seen more about episode 8 than we had about Rogue One.
Yes.
So that really, really excited me. And once again, I can't wait for even more hype. Like when September rolls around of this year, we're going to get a lot more of episode 8. And I'm just so happy about that. I'm always the one that likes to build up to something and just enjoy the hype that when it gets there, it's like,
the hype is gone.
Yeah, the hype is gone, and we're going to see the movie, and all the excitement will kind of dissipate over the next couple of months. And so we're on the descension of happiness and getting overexcited, overstimulated by all the stuff that's coming constantly.
Right.
I've always loved that, and that's what I'm looking forward to with each coming. Well, now that we have a Star Wars movie with each coming year,
right?
I can look forward to it every single year, and I'm just hoping it doesn't wear off that excitement.
Yeah. Well, I know. I am a little concerned about, like, we get so much Star Wars that I don't want it to be diluted. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, we just came off of The Force Awakens, and we went right into Rogue One, so I wouldn't almost mind like a year and a half between movies, just to ride the wave.
Right.
3 years like we had in the vintage days, that's too much. That's a lifetime.
That's no good.
No. All right, so now what was one of your personal high points of 2016, Sarah?
All right, well, looking back, I would have to say that unexpectedly, the Star Wars Rebels Season 2 finale, The Twilight of the Apprentice, was absolutely amazing. And that was a personal highlight for us because we got to go to the Walt Disney Studios and see the actual premiere of that with most of the cast and crew who we weren't really expecting to be there. I mean, Dave Filoni was there, Simon Kinberg, Kevin Kiner was there, and of course, Ahsoka herself, Fulcrum, Ashley Eckstein. So, and of course, we saw a bunch of our podcaster friends. Each of these media events kind of turns into a reunion of sorts, you know?
Yeah.
A mini Star Wars celebration. So,
I don't want to be a wet blanket, but that was one of my low points.
oh, why? Oh, because of
Because Simon Kinberg, the executive producer / writer / everything, wanted to sit next to me.
Yeah.
But our friend Dave Scale had gone up to go to the bathroom, so there was an empty seat front and center.
Right next to you.
And he came over and said, "Is this seat taken?" And before I could really process it, I said, "Yeah, it is." Had I had another second,
yes,
I would have said, "Dave, you're out. Simon, you're in. Sit down."
Oh, man.
And of course, wasn't it Bryan Young that tweeted out that he enjoyed watching me turn away Simon Kinberg from sitting next to me?
That and James Jawa, they were razzing you about that.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a lot.
That was so terrible. Oh, man.
But
what about you for a personal highlight?
Well, looking back now, my personal highlights is what I was looking forward to this whole year, and getting a chance to talk to people like Don Post Jr., who I was just beside myself with excitement when we talked to him last September. We talked with James Frawley, the director of the Monkeys episodes.
Oh, yeah.
And that was really, really exciting because I can say someone like him really shaped how I view things, how just any kind of timing, any kind of, when I do my shows and my live shows, I can say that has pretty much been predicated by what James Frawley had taught the Monkeys, and by watching the Monkeys, that was my lesson in improv training and physical comedy. So it was really exciting to talk to him all about that. We talked with Craig Miller, who was there at the beginning of the Star Wars fandom.
Right.
He was one of the marketing and publicist guys alongside Charles Lippincott in the late 70s, early 80s. So you got to see the beginning of Star Wars fandom.
So what was your one highlight, Richard? Your one highlight?
Well, I can say talking to Steve Binder, the director of the Star Wars Holiday Special, I never would have thought.
You just love shedding light on the Star Wars Holiday Special,
Oh,
don't
I do, until everyone's on board with their brilliance.
Everyone is never going to be on board.
Well, then I will continue my crusade.
But we can shed light on the subject, and it was really fun to hear those stories.
Yeah.
I see. So, yeah.
So those were my personal highlights, getting to talk to people I never thought I would get a chance to speak with. Now, because we have Skywalking Through Neverland, like the door's always open.
Yes,
Upward
absolutely.
And onward.
All right, so now we want to hear what our guests have to say about these questions. So let's talk with Full of Sith co-host, StarWars.com contributor, and editor-in-chief of Big Shiny Robot, Bryan Young.
Hey, Bryan.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Oh, thanks for being here once again. Now, we are recording this on December 31st, the last day of 2016. But let's go back to January 1st of this year. What were you looking forward to the most in the coming year?
I think most people would not be surprised if I said Rogue One was the thing I was most excited for. I really could not wait for that movie the same way that now, even after I've seen Rogue One 10 times, I'm excited for Episode 8.
Wow.
10 times?
10 times.
We better hit the multiplexer.
Yeah, right? We feel way behind now. I thought 3 times was okay.
Oh.
I actually got to catch it 3 times before it came out.
Wow. Well, that's amazing.
Well, that's a lot of screenings.
Yeah, it is.
So, going back to January 1st, what were your overall impressions of Rogue One? Did you consider it a Star Wars film? Were you looking forward to it? Were you apprehensive?
So, the thing about Rogue One is that I was a little nervous because I didn't think that Gareth Edwards' Godzilla was sort of the best movie to put me in the right frame of mind to think that this is the director who can handle the character work that I think a Star Wars movie requires. But I started to get put at ease at Celebration Europe, actually, where just his passion for Star Wars made me realize that this was a passion project for him, and that he seemed intent to work with the story group to make sure that it had all those touchstones to the other parts of the Star Wars universe. And I think it had that more than Force Awakens did, where we saw all those touchstones to Rebels and the classic trilogy, and even that shot on Mustafar just showed us that he has this deep connection to Star Wars, going back to Ralph McQuarrie's designs in '78, to the prequels, to Rebels, to everything, and brought us something pretty magical, I think.
Right.
I think that they're hiring these directors to bring that thumbprint, right? So, like, if you look at Force Awakens and you see J.J. Abrams' thumbprint, it's very much that mystery box style of storytelling where one mystery leads to another, and it brings you to a place where you just have to know more, and it leaves all these unanswered questions. And that's very much his style as a director. It has this breathlessness to it. And Gareth Edwards, in his style, he's amazing at selling the scale of a thing, whether that's Godzilla or other monsters or the Death Star. Those were the best things that he'd done in his previous movies. And he also has this like visceral, tangible quality to his filmmaking, to his shots. And it felt almost like the most documentary style of Star Wars film. Yeah. So I think we're still going to see they're hiring directors with that in mind to match them with the stories where they make the most sense, so that we will so that we won't necessarily notice it because it's just perfect for the story.
And that certainly worked for Rogue One.
Yeah. All right, so other than Rogue One, what else were you looking forward to in 2016?
I was really looking forward to Rebels coming back. I think Twilight of the Apprentice was probably some of the best Star Wars we've ever gotten. It just kind of seemed to come out right in the middle between Force Awakens and Rogue One. And if we can get an hour of Star Wars animation that's as good as the movies between movies, we're going to be in a very good way for a long time.
Oh, most definitely.
Here.
Most definitely. Were you looking forward to anything else outside of Star Wars in 2016?
Yeah, no, I was looking forward to outside of Star Wars, I was really looking forward to catching Harry Potter and the Cursed Child when I was in London for Celebration Europe.
Ooh, nice.
I was really excited about Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I really like Harry Potter. And the Marvel movies have been really great. I thought Civil War was just really, really, really fun. Sad and depressing in the way it seems like everybody seems to think 2016 is going, but in the right way that put a smile on my face. I can't think of a movie that made me laugh harder and cry harder than Civil War, except for Rogue One. You know, you can't think about those scenes with Spider-Man and not just have a smile on your face.
Yeah,
that old movie.
Until that line.
Hey guys, you ever seen that really old movie, Empire Strikes Back?
Hey, wait a minute. Hey.
Yeah, right. It's
I guess we're getting old.
Yeah, they're talking about Empire Strikes Back, but hey.
But that's perfect for a kid at that age.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. Now, what would you say your personal high point of 2016 was?
There's probably a lot of them, but I think the most personal is that my daughter, who's now 18 months old, can say Jar Jar and R2.
Oh.
And she hasn't watched any of the movies. I'm pretty adamant that I don't want her to see any movies except for Phantom Menace and the Ewok movies before she's 4 or 5, because I don't want to ruin the story for her. But Jar Jar is just her absolute favorite. And hearing an 18-month-old say Jar Jar and R2 and recognize them wherever they go is just about the most adorable thing you can imagine.
That's awesome.
Is so cute.
And the fact that she's your daughter and your Jar Jar-ness.
Do you mention all Star Wars names in your household, and those are the two that she just picked up on?
No, and it's weird how it happened, actually, because it was like we had a whole bunch of plushies of stuff. I've had a Jar Jar plushie since '99, and I gave that to her. And Tracy Canobio, when Valkyrie was born, Tracy from Lucasfilm sent me like a care package, and in that care package was an R2-D2 plush.
Oh.
And so she's just had them since she was little. So before she'd even seen the movie, We didn't let her watch anything until just this last month or so. And, just playing with the toys, she really liked the toys, and we taught her the names of the toys, and and she just locked into it. And her lullabies to go to sleep have always been Star Wars music. It's always been Princess Leia's theme. It's always been Across the Stars. And so she associates the Star Wars logo with Star Wars music, not necessarily the movies. And so when she sees the logo, she goes into, singing the songs.
Wow.
So it wasn't planned this way. Like with my other kids, I tried to kind of keep them away from it because I didn't want anybody to think I was forcing my fandom on them.
Right.
But she's just kind of soaking it up like a sponge in a way the other two didn't.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Wow.
That is so cute. That is so adorable. So let me ask you, what order will you show her the films?
I think I'm going to go with 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8. I guess by the time I show her, 9 will be out. So I'll probably do that and then the standalones after.
Wow.
I think 4 is interesting, and I think she's going to have a connection to Anakin for a couple of reasons. That I think that, for one, her older brother's name is Anakin.
Right.
And for 2, I think that she's already kind of soaked in what's going on with Phantom Menace to the point where Anakin's going to be like a hero to her, right? And so if you start with episode 4 and you hear them talk about how Darth Vader killed Anakin, I think that turn in Empire Strikes Back is going to mean a lot more to her than anything else. So I mean, technically the order would be 1, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6 or whatever.
Right.
But I think that would work the best for her. And I've shown people for the first time a couple of different ways. I've shown them 1 through 6. I've shown them 4 through 6 and then 1, 2, 3. And I've shown them 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6. And the ones that had the best experience were 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 6.
She's going to have a very hard time in math class.
Yeah, I don't doubt it, but she will pass all of her mythology with flying colors.
Nice. Well, that's a great personal high point. Now, let's go to fandom in general. Do you think that fandom or geek culture progressed this year, or were there any leaps in fandom?
I think fandom is sort of taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back a lot of the time, especially now where we have lots of new fans coming into Star Wars from The Force Awakens, and especially young female fans with Rey or with Jyn, or fans from traditionally marginalized groups that see themselves better represented in Star Wars, whether that's from Finn or Cassian Andor or whoever. We're having a much more diverse fandom, and I think that that's a really good thing. But sometimes there's some of those old guards, those old gatekeepers, who are saying no, this is my safe space. You're not welcome here. Or if you are welcome here, why are you such a fair weather fan? You're new here, so you need to go see all this stuff and then come talk to me about being a Star Wars fan. And so one thing I've been pretty hopeful about doing is trying to eliminate some of that gatekeeping. I've been working with Andrew Slack, who is one of the co-founders of the Harry Potter Alliance, to start a Jedi pledge. So if you go to JediPledge.org, it's just a pledge to say if I find new fans, I won't tolerate any bullying of them, I won't gatekeep them, and I'll sort of act as an ambassador to Star Wars to make sure that our fandom is as welcoming as possible. And I think there's a lot of work to be done there. But I think that we're definitely heading in the right direction to make fandom more welcoming in a way that maybe it hasn't in a long time, because we've been so fractured over different aspects of fandom. And I think people are starting to get the idea that you can be a Star Wars fan even if you only like 1 of the movies or 3 of the movies, or if you like all of the movies. As a big proponent of the prequels, I would so often get told, well, you're not a real fan of Star Wars because real fans don't like the prequels. And I think that's lessening to a degree, partially because we've got so many new people coming into the fandom that the prequels or the Clone Wars brought them into the fandom, but also because, there's just more of those sorts of fans. And the more vocal we are about what we love about Star Wars, the more vocal other people will be about. about it.
So you feel with each year, the bullying and the cyberbullying is getting less and less?
Well, I think that it's getting more acute in some ways, but it's also we're fighting back against it harder, I think. So my hope is by the time episode 9 comes out, all of the new fans who've been sort of taught that there's no wrong way to love Star Wars will be the vast majority, and that those few sort of gatekeeping bullies, whether it's not even just cyberbullying, you know, I see it happen at conventions even.
Oh, wow.
You know, that there'll be such a small voice in the fandom that they'll realize they need to get on board.
That's interesting. Yeah, I know, like, many of you are 1.0 fans, you know, who's had Star Wars in your life for 40 years. So I can see how that could create kind of a sense of ownership almost. But then you have new fans coming in that maybe have not been a Star Wars fan for as long, maybe because they can't, because they weren't born that early. But yeah, it's interesting, the dichotomy there. But I love actually pitting different fandoms together, like different generations of fans together, and just having a conversation. I mean, that's kind of what the podcast does sometimes, and you really get some interesting insights out of it. So it's great to embrace that.
I haven't really come across anyone recently who just go, you know what, just the 4, 5, and 6 is Star Wars, and that's it, and that's that. Just because there's so much great stuff coming out that you just can't ignore it anymore.
Yeah.
Now, were there any disappointments in 2016 within your fandom?
I mean, as far as geek culture, there's always sort of disappointments in when you hear that some prominent person in fandom has said some, you know, maybe horribly sexist thing, or that I'm disappointed sometimes. Like, I was at the press conference for Rogue One, and a reporter asked Kathleen Kennedy about more female directors, and she said that, you know, men have had the ability to direct a Star Wars movie without having directed a blockbuster, and Kathleen Kennedy said that's not true, but we're dedicated to hiring a female director. It kind of is true. I was disappointed that Kathleen Kennedy had sort of discounted that Richard Marquand and Irvin Kershner, neither of them had directed blockbuster features. And in the new era, she's absolutely correct. But and maybe that there's some slack to be given in the idea that, you know, George Lucas was there to shepherd them, and maybe Kathleen Kennedy's not George Lucas. So maybe there's an argument to be made there, but I would like that. I was disappointed that conversation hasn't been more productive, but I'm dying to see what a female director can do with Star Wars. I'd really love to see that vision of the universe. I think that's what's so rich about the universe, is that you can do anything with it. And I'm excited. So even though this is sort of a disappointment, I'm excited to see how that takes shape, because I really do think that Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm is really committed to bringing us that vision eventually. Not as soon as I would like, but it will happen, I'm sure.
Yeah, that is a good point that you make. And going to a lot of press conferences ourselves, and we hear a lot of people ask questions that they just want to get traction with without really thinking it through, because Rian Johnson has never directed a blockbuster feature.
You know, I think maybe Looper could be almost counted. Maybe. I mean, it had the, you know, $70-80 million budget. But with Rian Johnson, I think you can look at his filmography and say, like, this guy's got the goods, though.
I don't want her to hire a female director just to hire a female director. I want her to hire the right person for the part.
Absolutely. And to know that she's working on it is totally encouraging.
Okay.
And part of it is, like, I really think that a female could offer a view and a vision of Star Wars that we'd never be able to get out of a male director. And so I'm excited to see what the other side of that coin can offer Star Wars. And I know they'll pick the right person, and they'll pick them at the right time for the right story. I know that, but sometimes I'm disappointed that how the conversation has happened.
It would almost be interesting to hire a director and not tell anyone who it is. I know they would never be able to keep that under wraps.
Yeah.
But it would be a fun experiment.
Yeah, well, I think in this day and age, I think one of the things about the culture is that we're so obsessed with knowing every detail of production, which I find odd. Like, unless you're intimately familiar with how a film works, everything sounds like it could be a disaster until it comes out. You know, like how you've seen story after story about the reshoots to Rogue One, where it's just like, this movie's going to be terrible. They've gone back to reshoots all these times, and it's like, that movie was pretty good, and it was probably because the reshoots made it even better.
Yeah.
My view on that is, if you write a paper or a blog or an article, you're never going to hand in or submit your first draft. You're always going to redo it, rethink it, have someone else look at it, and restructure it from there. You're never going to do the first draft, because that would be a disaster. That's when you put everything out there, and then you go back and start thinking about things and connecting the dots.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's a really good way to look at it.
Now, were there any big surprises in 2016 for you?
Thrawn.
Yeah. Oh.
Grand Admiral Thrawn.
Grand Admiral?
The Emperor recently promoted me after my victory at Baton.
I was not expecting to get Thrawn, and when I had an inkling that Thrawn might be coming down the pipe in Rebels at some point down in the distant future, and then when they announced him at Celebration Europe and that crowd about lost their minds, I think it was the thing that surprised me is that Thrawn in the Rebels panel got a bigger reaction than anything at the Rogue One panel.
Yeah, and we were watching both of those live, and that was surprising to us.
He's been a beloved character for over 20 years now.
Yeah, I just remember hearing that announcement, and I got so emotional, because to me that was one of my anchors in fandom. You know, when I first started liking Star Wars, was those Heir to the Empire and all those books by Timothy Zahn.
Right.
Yeah.
I kind of figured that Thrawn was going to make an appearance just because he was such a big character, and they were borrowing from the expanded universe. I got more of a thrill of seeing Wedge in that trailer.
Yeah.
And I loved how they were really connecting the films with the series, and how the series were connecting back into the films, and you could really see their overall vision with that one trailer.
Yeah. And I think the most surprising thing about it is that Tim Zahn pretty much lied to my face like the month before the announcement. So I was at a convention with Tim. Tim and I do a convention every year with Mike Stackpole and some other writers. And my table's always right next to Tim's. So Tim and I get to hang out all weekend, essentially. Wow. And on the last day of the convention, and this was June of 2016, I said, Tim, how would you feel if they brought Thrawn into Star Wars? And he's like, I always knew that it was a sandbox I was playing in, and they could do whatever they want. And I said, Tim, we're not on a panel. I know what your answer is. How would you feel about them bringing Thrawn in? And he's like, well, I guess maybe I wouldn't feel so bad if the right person did it, and this and that. And I was like, I bet Filoni could do it right. And he's like, I don't know. We just have to see. But and then the next month, the announcement happens. And I'm sitting there going and they announced the book, and I was like, he's already written the book.
Yeah.
We spent all weekend talking about what he's working on next. This never came up. He lied to me about Thrawn. So I got to do an event in Minnesota for Fantasy Flight Games for the launch of Destiny, and I saw Tim again there. And I was like, Tim, I never want to play poker with you, ever. And he's like, well, I didn't actually lie to you. If you notice, the conversation was exactly about what my expectations might be if someone did it. I didn't tell you they weren't doing it. I was like, he got me.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. So if you could tweet to your 10-year-old self now, what would you say about 2016?
You get to go to a red carpet Star Wars premiere.
Nice.
So 10-year-old me, I was 10 in 1990, and I had just tried, 8-year-old me or 7-year-old me had tried to convince my parents to drive me to Los Angeles, because I was living in Fullerton at the time, to take me to that 10th anniversary screening in Los Angeles, because I'd never seen a Star Wars movie on the big screen except for Return of the Jedi when I was 3. And 7-year-old Bryan didn't get his wish, and his parents didn't necessarily understand that seeing a Star Wars movie in a big screen with in a setting like that would be a big deal. And so I think 10-year-old Bryan would get a kick out of knowing that one day I'd be able to walk on the red carpet. at a Star Wars movie premiere, which is something I never thought at 10 I'd ever get to see another Star Wars movie, let alone dream that I could walk the red carpet doing, before I did so. And that was pretty amazing.
Aww.
If I could tweet to my 10-year-old self, I would say, what is a tweet? Then again, that's what I'm saying right now.
I wouldn't be able to know how to describe what Star Wars fandom would be like for me at 10, because at 10 in 1990, like, Star Wars was dead, right? Like no one cared about Star Wars except for me and like my one friend, and we had to keep it secret because there were like people who thought Star Wars was stupid, and we were bullied on the playground for bringing these old Star Wars action figures that, like, where did you get those old things? Like, there was no Star Wars wasn't in the mainstream then the way it is now, or the way it even was in 1997. I remember that being such a bizarre experience, seeing some of those people who would give me so much crap for loving Star Wars in line ahead of me to see it in 97. So the culture certainly shifted in those years from my formative years to when the movies started coming out again. And now I don't think we'll ever have to go without Star Wars being on the toy shelf. But I remember when even finding a Star Wars toy somewhere at a flea market anywhere was a big deal because you just couldn't get them.
Right.
And so to try to explain to my 10-year-old self, there's going to be a massive community, and you're going to be on a podcast, and people are going to listen to what you have to say about Star Wars, and you're going to be able to get to go to Skywalker Ranch, and you're going to be able to interact with these people and ask questions of actors that are going to be in Star Wars. I don't think I'd have believed it.
Right.
Yeah. For some reason, I'm friends with people I went to school with, people I never even knew, who were always tease me about Star Wars. And now I get random messages. Hey, Rich, have you seen the new Star Wars movie? And my kids are so into Star Wars now.
Yeah, so
like,
cute.
Wait a minute. Those are the only kind things you've ever said in the last 45 years.
Yeah.
Now, do you have a goal for yourself in 2017?
I hope someday, and I don't know if it's 2017 or 2018, and maybe it'll never happen, but I really want to write some stuff in the Star Wars canon, whether that's a short story or a book or something. And I'm working toward getting my own work published enough to the point where Del Rey might say, yeah, I think maybe it's time for Bryan.
Yeah. And speaking of, you do have your own author's page, correct? Can you tell people where they can find that?
So if you go to bryanyoungfiction.com, that's kind of where I write about writing a lot, actually, and just sort of documenting my, I've published a few books, but I'm really working on getting like an agent now. So like documenting that process and working on revising books and editing them and querying, like that whole process is sort of bryanyoungfiction.com. Okay. And that's where I do that. That's sort of the other side of what I'm doing. That's the other thing 10-year-old Bryan wouldn't believe.
Well, that's awesome. And where else, we'd love for you to tell our Skywalkers where they can find you on social media.
So you can find me on Twitter at Swankmotron. And that's sort of, you can find me just about anywhere. You can find Full of Sith at Full of Sith on Twitter or fullofsith.com. And I do another half Star Wars podcast now with Holly Fry from Stuff You Missed in History Class called Fothentic History.
Great show, by the way.
Oh, thank you. So we just take fictional history from Star Wars, or even the next episode is actually about the Pirates Code from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies.
Oh, fun.
We did an episode about Tinker Fairies using the Tinkerbell movies as sort of like they were documentaries. And that's at fothentichistory.com, and people can find that show too. It's just a fun labor of love that Holly and I work on, and new episodes come out every 2 weeks.
Now, to put an exclamation point on 2016, what would be your hashtag for the year?
Oh, man. I mean, I guess that would have changed through the year. We've had so much Star Wars, right? So, like, if it were in January, it would be like still seeing Force Awakens, right?
Yep.
If it were June, it would be like Thrawn.
Yes.
Or even if it were April, it would be Ahsoka, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right now, I feel like it would be something about Carrie Fisher.
Yeah. To
bring all of that together, I think the hashtag would just be Star Wars. Right? Like, we've had so much Star Wars this year, it's not even fair. We've had so much, And so all of it's been really good, whether that was Twilight of the Apprentice or Rogue One or the leftover sort of high from Force Awakens, or Celebration was amazing. And we've got the Star Wars show now that's kind of keeping us up with things. And I feel spoiled. Like, this is the best time to have been a Star Wars fan.
So how about #spoiled? Spoiled
Yeah,
Star
exactly.
Wars.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. All right, Bryan, thank you so very much. Those were awesome answers, and we look forward to seeing what 2017 has got to bring Star Wars and pop culture fandom.
Oh, thank you for having me, and I look forward to all of it, and I look forward to the podcast community growing even bigger and everybody playing nicer.
Absolutely.
I think we're well on our way.
Yeah, I think podcasting has really formed a great community, but now let's answer some of these questions we asked Bryan. Were there any disappointments in 2016 in your fandom or in pop culture in general? Richard?
I can definitely say the strife between fans. You would have thought with social media bringing everyone together and everyone being able to talk the same language, we'd all get along.
Well,
that wasn't the case.
You know what? Wherever there's passion, I think people get so passionate about certain things, and they feel that everyone else should be as passionate about certain things as they are.
Right.
And it just doesn't always line up that way.
The thing with podcasts and blogs and ways of people to express themselves, people would understand that we all do have our different favorites.
Yeah.
We all do have what we take away from each of the movies, the video games, the films, the prequels, the holiday specials, and people would respect that.
I think it makes a richer fan base as well.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, you can't just go with one point of view. Well, then what's the point?
Yeah,
if you don't have more than one point of view. And I like listening to other shows and seeing what they say. Because then it would really fill in some gaps for me. If there's something that I didn't understand or I saw it differently.
Right.
And I heard it coming from a whole different point of view, from a whole different generation of a fan. That opens up my eyes.
Right.
So that was really disappointing that we couldn't get along more. But just like Krennic said in Rogue One, well, we got to start somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think by the end of the year, people were getting better and better and getting along more because they had seen what all that strife had done between each other, and it was just separating fans when it really shouldn't have.
Right. But like anything, when you have a big separation, sometimes there's a coming together then after that. So anything, or like Carrie Fisher, of course, you have your grief, but then you realize just how much she did for everyone, not only just Star Wars. So the low points kind of define your high points, and you have to have them in order to appreciate the high points.
Oh, right. Like they can't be light without dark and dark without light. You got to have the antithesis to the thesis.
Mm-hmm.
So I would also say another disappointment in 2016 would just be remakes. I'm just going to put it out there.
Oh.
You know what? Stop with the remakes. And now when we think of a movie like Ghostbusters, we're not going to think of the 1984 classic film. We're going to think about the mess, in my opinion, of the Paul Feig Ghostbusters remake of last summer.
Gotcha.
And it sours your original passion for something like the original Ghostbusters.
Does it really?
Yeah, because when someone says Ghostbusters, you think about, okay, which one are they thinking about? And maybe it's just me. Once again, everyone's got their different ways of looking at it, but Ghostbusters is one of those films, the perfect film. You leave it alone. You can't remake perfection. So why bother?
Kind of like Mary Poppins.
Oh, yeah.
Well, at least Mary Poppins is not going to be a remake. It'll be like a sequel and hopefully bringing to light different parts of the original books because they are based on actual novelization. It wasn't a film first. But as Werewolf Cowgirl says, the remakes do make money, Amanda Bond. So they will start, they still keep doing them.
Yeah.
I mean, Cinderella.
Yeah.
Jungle Book, did that do well or not? Not as well.
It did well.
But the Jungle Book did.
Jungle
Book
did, but Pete's Dragon
didn't.
Did not.
Right. Okay. Yeah, Jungle Book was amazing. I thought they actually, when a remake is able to go in and change it somewhat, the story, and make it better in different ways. I think the Jungle Book actually did that. I think the ending is better.
It flushed it out a little bit more.
Well, it changed the ending, but in a way that made sense for that film.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about that is Beauty and the Beast. I have a huge connection to that film, and yet I am super excited to see the live action version. But I think a lot of that is because of the choice of Hermione Granger. What's her name?
Emma Watson.
Emma Watson. Because I just think she's fantastic, and I think the casting has a lot to do with it. So,
But when they first made the announcement, what did you think before you saw the trailers?
I think I still was excited because that's one, for some reason, I was excited about it.
Yeah, after that Cinderella mess, I thought, we'll go see it and leave the theater.
Yeah, well, we'll see. All right, so, I didn't go into my disappointments.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, well, major... Oh, Amanda Bond says Ewan McGregor singing. I forgot about that.
Oh, okay.
I'm excited. Yep.
Yeah.
And I think Gaston looks amazing. Okay, now...
After Moulin Rouge and Big Love, we need to hear Ewan McGregor sing more.
Seriously. Yeah, okay. He's so amazing.
I thought he should have sung his way out of Mustafar.
The hills are alive. Oh.
With the sound of lava.
Okay, so my major disappointment of 2016 was the out of nowhere announcement that Disney Infinity was ending. It was basically chopped its head off. I've never been a gamer per se, but I was just so into that game and the community it created because, like our podcast, Disney Infinity created this really creative, awesome community of fans and friends, and they just cut off, they chopped off the head of it by just stopping it. It was just surprising because they had just announced how Disney Infinity was the top seller in the Toys to Life gaming industry, like the last quarter. So,
as someone just said on one of our one of our scope walkers just said that at Toys R Us, you buy one and get 5 free.
Yeah, so sad. Oh,
if only we had known.
Yeah. So that was my disappointment. Okay, but let's move on to something more fun. So, what surprised you in 2016? What was a surprising moment?
I think I answered that a few minutes ago when I said the live-action Jungle Book and the live-action Pete's Dragon really surprised me because we saw the trailers at Disney D23 Expo, and we were excited because we were caught up in the whole fever of it. But once the lights had come back up, we had forgotten all about it, and I didn't really think about it until we went to the screenings. And when we did, I wasn't really all that excited. But when each film had ended, I thought, wow, how is Disney ever going to top this? I now have an appreciation for something like Pete's Dragon or Jungle Book. And I thought these are definitely going to be contenders for Best Picture.
Okay.
Not that the Oscar would ever grant that kind of a accolade on great films, because they're going to focus more on a film that you've never even seen or heard of. And something else I was very surprised at in 2016, now this may have started earlier, but I saw more than ever the unboxing videos. It surprised me that something like this
they're so popular
caught on. I saw so many unboxing videos this last year, and I'm watching it thinking, am I not understanding something?
You know what?
Did I not get the memo?
You know what, sweetie? But you're watching it.
I watched it to understand, but I don't think I ever really got past
You didn't watch them. You didn't watch a bunch.
I didn't watch the whole thing. I would just watched it because I thought I was missing out on something. But watching maybe a minute into it, and people are just pulling out random objects. I thought, okay, all right, this is where it gets good. This is the big climax, and there was no climax. There was nothing. Even when people were opening up Star Wars toys, like if I can't play with it or smell it, I don't want to watch this.
Well, some people are just excited to see it before they get it, I guess. I don't know.
But it's not like a review. I'll watch a review on something to see if I really want something, or if it's if it's as exciting as I thought it was going to be in my head. Jay Pitty just said on Periscope that
he watched you unboxing Vader. That's true.
Okay, I'm kind of embarrassed right now.
You did an unboxing video,
and I didn't even know it. Oh my! That's how popular these videos are. I did one and I didn't even know it at Disneyland a couple of weeks ago with Tricia Barr, and she said, "Grab me that."
Well,
Vader,
it was like a couple months ago.
She said, "If you will open up this Darth Vader action figure, you can have it, Richard." This came from the Rogue One press conference.
Mm-hmm.
So if you open it, you can have it.
It was history at Space Mountain. Yep. He was born at Space Mountain.
And believe me, it took a lot to get there, too. So, yeah, thanks, Jay Pitty, for bringing that up. All right, but I promise I'll never do one of those again.
Nice.
All right, so, Sarah, what surprised you in 2016?
Okay, well, I know I touched on it already, but I was very surprised at how amazing the Star Wars Rebels Season 2 finale was. Like, it was almost better than some Star Wars films, like live action. So that was amazing. But since I already touched on that, I am going to actually go with the Disney parks. And something surprising there was the announcement of the closing of Tower of Terror, and that it was going to be changing up to a Guardians of the Galaxy ride.
Was that surprising or exciting? Or both?
Well, it was both.
Yeah.
I mean, I was surprised to hear that, after back in 2012, they kind of refurbished DCA.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Yeah, and so now DCA is much, much better. It has the focal point in the middle. It has a great Hollywood 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s feel, that kind of old-fashioned feel. And then now, all of a sudden, I'm kind of surprised that they're adding Guardians of the Galaxy to a corner of the park, which means they're kind of starting a Marvel land within the park. That's what that kind of signifies, and that's just surprising, but I'm excited about it. Like, I'm not surprised bad. I'm surprised yay, because I want to see Star-Lord.
All right, you know what? I'm going to add on to that and say I was surprised too by that announcement, but I was surprised it didn't happen sooner.
Yeah.
Because as big as Twilight Zone was, I don't think any kid will walk in there and going, "Oh, I just watched this series last night." I think they'll get a whole new audience with Guardians of the Galaxy. And once again, I never saw the correlation between Twilight Zone and Disney, other than the fact that they paid a couple of bucks for the rights.
They have the rights. Yeah.
Didn't really need to be Twilight Zone.
Okay.
I don't know why they didn't center around one of their own properties.
That's a good question. That's not a question for me.
Yeah. I don't think anyone was going, "Oh, about time there's a Twilight Zone ride."
All right, so now let's talk with another friend that you've seen warming up audiences at Star Wars Celebrations, and now he can currently be seen co-hosting the Inside Disney Parks YouTube show and Disney Parks blog live stream series. So here he is, the funniest man this side of fandom, Mr. Mark Daniel.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Richard. Hey, Sarah. And hello, Skywalkers. Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you, too. And we are recording this on January the 1st, and you were just hosting the Walt Disney World New Year's Eve event just a few hours ago. So
I was.
If you need to rest your voice and tap into the microphone, do some Morse code, feel free.
Okay. I don't know Morse code, so I don't know what I'll be saying. But
all right. We don't speak Morse code, so I'm glad this all works out then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how was your big New Year's Eve party last night at Walt Disney World?
Oh, that was fantastic. At the Magic Kingdom, Cinderella's Castle, we recorded it from what they call the Rose Garden, which is a nice little grassy knoll right next to Cinderella's Castle. And the park was just packed, but there was so much energy there, so much fun. There was a DJ on the castle stage, and the fireworks, of course, were amazing. And what was unique is that when we show from Main Street, USA, and then we actually have cameras over at the Polynesian that will look over Bay Lake and then show you the fireworks at Cinderella Castle from the backdrop of the bungalows and villas at the Polynesian over to Magic Kingdom. And it's a perimeter fireworks. So while fireworks are going off, they're going off from like 3 different areas at the same time.
Wow, I've never seen the perimeter fireworks, and that sounds amazing. Of course, it's not the same, the live blog, but I'm sure it's great that you're able to give everyone a little taste of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we give you a little taste. It's kind of like a teaser. It's like, come on out. You can really hear the booms.
Yeah.
Last year, for New Year's Eve, we were at the train station, so we were above everyone else. So it was kind of like elevated and we could see Main Street USA, but we weren't really close to people. But this time being at the Rose Garden, we kind of felt like we were in the middle of all the action. So the difference was there were a lot of people and there was a DJ on the castle stage. Like I said, we were part of the energy, it felt like this time. We weren't too far removed. So we were talking to people. People would come up and say, hey, what are you guys doing? We'd tell them what we're doing. And actually we had people looking at the live stream on their phones while looking at the real fireworks.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That is so Doctor Strange.
It is. And then the best part was I forgot Tinkerbell because they start off with Fantasy in the Sky. I forgot Tinkerbell flies over. So as I'm looking, I look up and I'm like, whoa, Tinkerbell. I'm trying to get my phone and she's like flying right over us. It was really cool.
Wow.
Tinkerbell, circle back.
And I'm like, come back, rewind. Yeah, so that was really cool. So your little logo like flew over me. It didn't have the lights. She had the wand, not the lightsaber, just so you see it. So.
Oh, but it is lit up, isn't it?
It is lit up. It could be a lightsaber. I don't know.
There you go. It almost could be.
Oh, we need to call our lawyers.
Hey, listen, I'll see what I can do. Let's put it that way.
Nice. Now, going back to January 1st of 2016, a year ago today, what kind of things were you looking forward to in fandom?
Oh, looking forward to it, fandom. First of all, let's talk Star Wars fandom.
Okay.
Of course, 2016, we were all looking towards Rogue One, right?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But the big one is going to London for Celebration. That was a lot of fun, and really, like, this was the first time at Celebration where I really talked to the fans. After the show, we talked to them, and I got to meet a lot of the different 501st and Rebel garrisons and all that kind of stuff. And I think this year was the first time, like, the fans, we just really connected. Like, it was really like a family. Like, I know them, but it was like this time we got to the point where it's been like 4 years. Yeah. We know this guy. And they were giving me their patches, and that became a thing. And I just started doing this thing. Is that I collect the patches now. They'll give me a patch and I have a shirt and I put it on the shirt, and they'll give me their a lot of the 501st, they have their cards, their trading cards, and I've been collecting those too. So that's different. I've never done that before. So that was a lot of fun.
What about your Disney fandom? Was there anything you're looking forward to?
Just doing more of inside Disney parks. I didn't realize how many people watch the live streams and how many people really we do what are called meetups, Disney Parks blog. And what it is, like, if a movie comes out, you can sign up and they pick a couple people to actually come and see the movie before it comes out. And a lot of times they surprise. I can't really go on record and say anything, but off record, sometimes they surprise people and they'll have an actor or a writer from the movie come and I get to interview them. So that's been fantastic. Yeah. So that usually happens in LA. Doesn't usually happen in Orlando. And that's been happening a lot more in Orlando. So these people that follow the Parks blog and that are fans of the movies that are coming up, it's really cool to see them out of context, out of a con, and just really excited as we get ready to see a movie that nobody has seen yet, you know?
Awesome. Wow.
What was one of the most recent films they showed where they brought a surprise guest out, and who were they?
We just did, I don't do all of them, but the last one we did was Moana, and we had one of the writers from Moana come and talk about some of the things, little Easter eggs in the movie, which is really cool, you know? So you haven't even seen the movie yet, but he's like, all right, don't forget to look here and here and here. So that was a lot of fun. And before that, we spoke to Oaks Fickley, I believe is his name.
From Pete's Dragon.
From Pete's Dragon, yeah.
Right.
So, yes, but what's really cool is the way they do the meetups. For instance, Pete's Dragon, you know what we did? They put a big screen up at, if you've ever been to Disney's Fort Wilderness.
Yeah. Oh,
they had a outside where the backyard barbecue happens. It's kind of out in the woods. They put a screen out there, and they put the speakers in the trees. And a lot of Pete's Dragon, you know, takes place in the forest. So that was really neat. And then for Moana, guess where we did it?
At the Polynesian?
You got it, right on the beach.
Wow.
Yes, and like they had the speakers along the water, Bay Lake, and like in the opening you hear the ocean, and I totally thought a wave was coming up to the left. I was like, I like sat up and I looked over like, but it was just a speaker. But you're outside, it was amazing.
Wow.
Did they have you dress up as Maui?
Yes, I still have a couple of tattoos that I still have to wash off.
Nice.
No, I didn't dress up like Maui. I'm glad you're not in charge, Richard. Mark put on this wig and this muscle suit. You're Maui.
Yeah, right.
Gonna get Mark into makeup in August.
Exactly. No, but we had Moana, who was part of the meet and greet at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Before she even started the meet and greet, she actually came out and people got to see Moana, who would be part of the meet and greet at Disney's Hollywood Studios. She came out early to say hi to everybody. So that was really cool.
Now, with everything you've done in 2016, I think you already answered this, but just want to confirm what I heard. What was your personal high point of 2016?
My personal high point of 2016 is actually my 13-year anniversary with my beautiful wife. 13 years.
Aww.
Yes.
How about in fandom?
In fandom, my personal highlight is for me personally, was my fandom. I love Star Wars. I love Disney. But my third fandom is The Predator.
I didn't see this coming.
You didn't see this coming, but it's Predator. And I actually, for the first time, I have a Predator cosplay outfit. It's a suit.
Whoa.
It's amazing. And it's different because I asked, it's Fractal Studio designed it for me. And if you've ever seen at Star Wars Celebration in Anaheim, they were dressed as Hera and Zeb.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen those cosplays, that's those guys. That's Kenny and his team. And he created a Predator costume, a cosplay. But I asked him to make it look like Walt Disney World made it.
Wow.
Yeah, I did see that on your Facebook page a while back.
Yes. So that is my personal fandom. Is I have that, and I went to New York Comic-Con as his name is Arnie, and I walked around as Arnie for the first time, and I got to experience what it's like to be a cosplayer walking around a convention.
So to be a cosplayer, you don't really walk around, do you? You just kind of stay in one spot.
You stay in one spot and you take a lot of pictures.
Now, if you can only make one for your wife, then you can combine all your personal favorites in one.
Exactly, I could, yeah. But she's so helpful with Arnie. She's like, I told her that there's two people that are Arnie, and it's me in the cosplay and her, because she are my eyes, and she really looks out because a lot of kids like him. Like I said, he looks like he was made by Disney, so he's very cute.
Oh.
So a lot of kids are a little timid, and she knows how to talk to them, so she'll get a lot of kids to come over and take pictures. So she's been very, very, very helpful.
Well, that's always helpful to have someone next to you who can help you when you can't see.
Make sure you don't walk all over the kids.
Right.
Exactly.
Now, were there any big surprises for you in 2016? Something you didn't see coming until it was here?
How awesome. Well, in fandom, are there any Darth Vader fans out there?
Absolutely.
I think there's one or two or a million.
Okay, maybe there's one or two. Maybe me and just you. I don't know. But I'm assuming everyone has seen Rogue One. Can I say something?
Yes.
Or no?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, if you haven't seen Rogue One, you shouldn't be listening to this show.
Yeah.
The last 5 episodes.
Right. Darth Vader. You know, we heard rumors that he would be in it, and we thought cameo, right? And if you see the previews, he's standing in front of like a map of maybe the schematics of the Death Star or where the Rebel base could be. So we just assumed it would be a cameo, like, Tarkin just standing there and turning around. But geez Louise. I mean, I don't have to say anything. I don't even think I could do it justice saying what we saw. I mean, he just has reestablished himself as the #1 villain of all time.
Yeah, that's a great way of putting it. I think you just said it right there.
Yes. I mean, talk about, because my nephew and I had this great conversation about, well, who's stronger? Well, I think Kylo Ren. I mean, Kylo Ren stopped a blaster and then he dragged the guy across the room. I mean, come on. And then you see what Darth Vader did in Rogue One and you're like, yeah, okay.
That's definitely a surprise because I didn't see it being as savage as all that.
Oh my goodness! I mean, the moment when he lifted the guy and threw him on the ceiling and passed him and then cut him.
Yeah.
I mean, that is like multitasking. First of all, people, Kylo Ren can multitask. Wait a minute. Let's talk about Vader's multitasking right now, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, does the Darth Vader at Walt Disney World, does he do that?
Yeah, it's the after-hours show.
Have you noticed any kids at Walt Disney World being a little bit more apprehensive in meeting Vader since Rogue One?
You know what? That's a good question. Now, right now, in Launch Bay, there's Kylo Ren. Darth Vader's not there anymore.
Oh, really?
Okay. Yeah, it's Kylo Ren and Chewbacca. And right now, Darth Vader is only in Trials of the Temple. And I haven't been over to see the reaction just yet, but I can tell you from in the past, he's always brought weight.
Right. I think the smoke helps too.
Yeah, the smoke helps a lot. I'll tell you a little story one time. As I think I told you guys already that I was a Jedi a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. We were up on the second platform, and I'm teaching my Padawans, soon to be Padawans, the moves and stuff, and we're on a higher tier, and we tell all the kids, be careful, don't step off. It's pretty high up here, and that's when it comes out. The stormtroopers, the kids don't know. Stormtroopers come in because they're clearing for Vader. They come in and we move the kids to the side, and the doors open and Vader comes out. And I just remember a young girl just like ran off stage, but it's like 4 feet. And you just heard clunk, and I was like, felt so bad. I think the audience ran up and caught her. Like they caught her, and she was okay, but Vader made the kid just like totally jump.
Wow.
Like off. And I think they could tell because, they're a little bit further back, but I think they saw her like making a run for it. And they were like, okay, we have to catch this young Padawan.
Yeah. You know what? I think I saw this video on YouTube and she was caught by 16 Disney lawyers. Now, being so inside at the parks, what was your favorite moment at the parks, whether you saw a little child run up to their favorite character or something that just made you go, "Aww"?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, there's so much happening. Well, in the Star Wars world, there's so much. I mean, for kids, okay, the best thing is when you look at when you watch the March of Phasma. Phasma comes out from Launch Bay,
right?
And she has she's marching with her stormtroopers, her First Order troopers, and you watch a kid just stop and drop his ice cream and everything. And just like, this $25 Mickey bar ice cream.
Yeah, right. I was going to say, that's expensive.
It's expensive to drop. And the kid is just like frozen as Phasma walks by. And then you look up and you see the dad, and the dad also dropped his Mickey bar ice cream. And he's like, his jaw is dropped also like his little kid or the little girl or whoever, and just looking at them march by. Wow. So that's always amazing. And I'll tell you something else about a different franchise is that I'm also at the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular.
Yeah.
And the amount of kids that you see that are like 7, 8, 9, 10 wearing Indiana Jones hats and coming and watching the show and staying after to meet Indiana Jones is amazing because you think that franchise is like the kids aren't watching this. They don't know Indiana Jones anymore, but it's not true.
Now, wait a minute. You can stay after and meet Indiana Jones?
Is this new?
Wait a minute. I'm not supposed to say that. Listen. No, you cannot.
Okay. Oh,
but if you linger, afterwards and you walk down to the steps, sometimes, just sometimes, there might be a little bit of magic where Indy is kind of still there, and he might see you and come sauntering over.
Oh.
Good to know.
That is a little tip. It's not official. There's no lines. And if he sees like there's 50 people, it might not happen.
Right.
Yeah, but there's a little trick. If you make your way down to the little rock and you linger about with a wanting face that you know.
Sarah's good at that.
Yes, with a wish. If you wish upon a star.
Magic could happen.
If you're at Disney, it will come true. Right, Mark?
My lawyer's shaking his head.
I thought they were going to do away with the Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular as of like last year.
The Indiana Jones Stunt Spectacular is always going away.
Wow. That's funny. And yet it keeps going.
It is always going away, but guess what? It is still going, and it's a big draw, and people love it. So it's so as of right now, I hope it doesn't go away for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So are there any rumors that it might be going away yet again, or is it like the Rolling Stones where it's just going to keep on going forever?
You know what? To be honest with you, there's always rumors. There's always rumors that it's going away.
Yeah.
So we don't know. I mean, there's always rumors.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, when Sarah and I visit Disneyland over here in Anaheim, we love to people watch and listen in on conversations. What is the weirdest thing you've heard at the Walt Disney World Park this year?
Ooh, that's a good question. The weirdest thing I've heard, because there's a lot of weird stuff. One time I heard somebody saying they got off of Tower of Terror and said, "That's weird. We used to stand on it before."
What?
What?
Tower of Terror. I was like, what? Well, he was like, we stood on it before. I'm like, how can you stand and it drop?
Yeah.
But they said they stood on it before and they changed it.
Wow.
That wasn't true.
You know what, Richard? There's even a Twitter account called Overheard at Disney.
Is there really?
And they will randomly tweet things that are overheard.
Write that down.
Well, I haven't heard of that Twitter account because I want to read that because I'm sure they have some better ones than I do. But people have asked, people wanted to know where King Kong was.
What do you say to that?
Keep walking. You just point that way.
Yeah, I love going to Disneyland and asking where Shrek is.
Are you one of those people, Richard?
Yeah, I am, and they don't think it's very funny.
I tell you what, I bet you your picture is up in a break room somewhere, and it says, "Watch out for this guy."
If he asks you any questions, pretend you got an emergency cell phone call.
Right.
Have you seen the park change from year to year, or from 2015 to 2016?
Yes, well, the park is definitely changing, and I'm excited about what's happening. I mean, we're doing like a full expansion, so 14 acres is huge. So Star Wars Land is coming along. So there's a lot of things changing at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Not to mention that, but driving in every day, not only are they changing Toy Story Land, and we don't know what Star Wars Land is going to be. They probably won't call it Star Wars Land. I can tell you that much. Until now, we call it Star Wars Land. That has a huge expansion, and they're actually changing the entrance to Disney's Hollywood Studios. So they're working on in the park, Toy Story Land, outside the park, and they're actually working on World Drive, which is this big interstate and road to get to Disney. That's transforming. So it's like people don't realize the amount of construction that's going on. It's massive. Like it's almost like it's street construction on top of theme park construction all put together.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty massive. It looks like, the road I'm driving on will be theme park. I mean, that's not that's not based on any kind of fact, but that's what it looks like.
Wow. And this is by Hollywood Studios?
Yeah, this is Hollywood Studios, yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of changes going on. And the places and what they're trying to do too is the places that aren't changing, they're really trying to make it look very nice. The Great Movie Ride got a nice facelift.
I heard that the Ark is there. The Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah, it is. Because that is true. They have like Mary Poppins dress and some different things like that. Yeah.
Being a cast member, do you ever take a walk around the construction of Star Wars Land? And what can you tell us? Go ahead. We'll stop recording.
Okay. Yeah, I trust you. You hit that red button, right?
Yeah.
Well, I see that they're putting like some of Jeddah in. Like right now they're putting in the temple. I'm kidding. I know.
You should have seen the looks on our faces.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Let me tell you something right now. It's all dirt, guys. It is all dirt.
So you guys are behind then.
Yeah.
From
Disneyland. It's like I said though, it's 14 acres, and like I told you, it's a lot of construction going on.
Yeah.
So there is streets that have to go away, I think.
Okay.
So
they're
right
doing
now,
like demo first.
I don't think Imagineers are coming in yet and going, okay, this will be this. And I mean, I'm sure that's already happening, but I don't think there is no like, right now, the structures that are being put up are like in-ground structures, for support.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I don't want to brag or anything, but we're already getting structures building up, not just building down.
Yeah. Oh, that really? I mean, I'm jealous. I'll be excited to see that at Disney's Hollywood Studios here in Florida. To see, oh my goodness, look at that mountain. Oh my goodness, look at that thing.
Yeah.
We already have a cement wall.
Oh yeah, several cement walls.
Oh really?
And like a ditch that's now different levels. Like there's all kinds of cool stuff going on.
Mm-hmm. The difference is, though, I know that I think there's a website where you can see the construction. I think it's easy for you guys to see the construction.
Yes, that's the thing.
Disneyland. Yeah, here they're serious about it. It's there is like when we drive by, there's no photography. There's no trespassing. They're pretty serious. But I think too, because they're still working. I mean, it's dangerous too. I mean, there's like holes and all kind of stuff. So like I said, I think they're still in support mode of getting the ground ready.
Right. That makes sense.
Have you heard any rumors about a soft opening date?
Oh, I have not.
Okay.
No soft opening date. I think they're so far away. Because right now, anything about excitement is Pandora, the world of Avatar.
Okay.
Oh, when is that scheduled to open?
This summer.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. That was fast.
No, not really. It's been in construction for like 4 or 5 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Be quiet. It was quick. It was fast.
Ever since they made the announcement about Star Wars Land, it's like Pandora what now?
I know. Everybody forgot about it. So it worked out perfect because it's just like, oh, we're open.
Let's walk into Pandora Land the first day and say, hey, where's Skull Island?
Skull Island? Oh, from King Kong?
You're from King Kong. I think your poster is up in that break room too.
Wow.
Hey, we're good friends with Mark Daniel, and he said that Skull Island was in here somewhere. Where is that? Is it next to Shrek?
Okay. Yeah. And next thing you know, I'll be working as a PA on your show when they fire me. So just know that. I'll be bringing my pillows.
Well, you know what? If you have some good character references, we'll be more than happy to look at your resume.
Okay.
All right. Now,
character references. Get it?
Wow. All right.
Character.
Yeah, I got a lot of characters in my head.
Yeah.
Yeah, go to Goofy and Mickey and Pluto. Now, before we wrap this up, if you could hashtag 2016, what would it be?
Ooh, that's a good question. Hashtag 2016. I was very busy in 2016. I guess hashtag enjoy it. There were so many things that came out of nowhere for me in 2016 and so different mediums in my job. I think enjoy it because I was so busy that I would forget what I just did.
Right.
And yeah, so sometimes I just had to sit back and go, wait a minute. I just got back from London. Wait a minute. I just went to Disneyland Paris. Wait a minute. Let me enjoy that for a second. So I guess hashtag enjoy it would be the hashtag.
Nice. That's a good advice for anyone, I think. So
yeah.
Nice. Yeah. Excellent.
Because sometimes when you're busy, you forget that, you just did something really cool and you get caught up in trying to do the next thing or,
that, or you get caught up in posting it.
Yeah, exactly.
But actually that's a way to enjoy it because then people comment on it.
You can look back on your post and say, I did that.
Yeah.
I did this.
Yeah.
Right.
When did I say that?
Yeah. All right, Mark. Well, thank you for joining us. But before we wrap things up, we would like you to tell everyone where they can find you on social media.
Of course. You can find me on Twitter at LOL4Life2. Again, that's Twitter at LOL, the number 4, life, the number 2. And my YouTube channel is LOL, the number 4, Mark Daniel.
Nice. And then you can also be seen on the Disney Parks blog live streams.
Live streams, yes. And on Inside Disney Parks.
Yes.
All right.
Awesome.
Now, if you could hashtag 2017, what would it be?
Ooh, 2017. Hashtag 2017 would be hashtag live.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Yep, live. Just live it. Be it. I mean, for me, Reese, I don't know about you guys, but really and truly, of course, we lost a lot of people towards the end of 2016.
Mm-hmm.
But 2016 went by really fast. And then it slowed down like 15 days before it was gone. You know what I mean? That's what it feels like to me. Like, because you're like, oh my goodness. And, we lost Carrie Fisher. You're like, oh my goodness, what's happening? But 2016, before I even knew it, it was here. 2017 was around the corner.
Right.
Just keep living. So hashtag live.
Okay.
Very nice.
No problem. Hey, guys, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Always fun to have Mark Daniel on, and I can't wait to see what he brings to Celebration Orlando.
Yeah.
Now, Sarah, if you could tweet yourself right now to a 10-year-old sweetie wife, Sarah, that's just wrong. Just a 10-year-old sweetie Sarah.
Okay. Yes, I think that works better.
Yeah. And if you could tweet yourself something about 2016, what would it be? And Scope Walkers and Face Walkers, you chime in on this too. What would you tweet your 10-year-old self?
Yes. So, since 10 years old was actually the time when I saw and, started Star Wars. That's when I saw Star Wars. I'm going to tweet to myself, you're about to watch something that will blow your mind. So stick with it, go all in with your fandom, and you will be rewarded. That's what I would tweet myself.
Yeah, you were just starting with Heir to the Empire in 91.
Well, and I saw the films first.
Right. Right. But,
yeah.
And you being a big book reader.
Absolutely.
I'm sure that had a lot to do with your getting more and more into Star Wars.
Yes.
So point being, you were just getting into all this.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
how do you tweet yourself using just 140 characters about something that will set the course of your life?
I don't know.
Yeah. So now, if I could tweet myself back to being a 10-year-old in 1979.
Yes. What would you tweet?
Well, I would first say, you're about to go on a journey that will change everything. Growing up in the vintage days, you couldn't get any bigger than Star Wars between 77 and 83.
Right.
It was just huge. If I could tweet myself and say, this is just a small tasting. This is a brushing of what's about to come.
Right.
That would be really, really exciting because that would just blow my mind. Going, wait a minute, there's so much right now. There's more? It's going to get bigger and be accepted by fans and people across the board, not just the, hate to use the word, but nerds and geeks.
Right.
Because now everyone wants to be a nerd and a geek. And then if I could tweet a second tweet, I would definitely say, meet Carrie Fisher. Because there were so many conventions that I had said, oh, you know what? I'll meet him. I'll meet her. I'll meet that person or this person some other time. And, boy, am I regretting that every single time someone passes away. And I just, why didn't I go and talk to them to be glitter bombed by Carrie Fisher?
Yeah.
I would have thought, I got so many conventions, I can get glitter bombed at any point. And plus, living in LA where we've seen some stand-up shows by Carrie Fisher, it just seemed like something that, it's going to happen.
Right. That's true. Well, we did go see her. We've been in the room live with her several times. So at least that,
So I would say, I would tweet myself, don't waste an opportunity.
Yeah.
All right. So
that's several tweets there, I think. I think you just tweeted yourself a bunch of stuff.
That's why I don't tweet. I can't do it in 140 characters.
No, it's true.
All
You're
right.
a Facebook person.
Yes, or a phone person.
That's true.
Retweets, Jay Pitty just said. Now, I know we were just in the middle of all that, so did anyone else on Facebook or Periscope have an answer for that? What would they tweet themselves as a 10-year-old? Jay Pitty said, stock up on tissues. You're going to get us all weepy again.
I know. All right. So, what would you say your most controversial moment in 2016 was?
You know what? Unlike 2015, where we had that big Amy Schumer debacle, and that was pretty heinous. And this year was pretty light on controversy, except
was that last year?
Yeah.
I mean, 2015?
2015, yeah.
Oh.
Except when it came to, I guess, the controversy being with all the podcasters and people saying things they shouldn't be saying.
Right.
But I don't want to go there. I want to go with this. I want to talk about Steve Martin's tweet about Carrie Fisher. When he tweeted out, when I was a young man, Carrie Fisher was the most beautiful creature I'd ever seen. She turned out to be witty and bright as well.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone got on him for that.
Well, not everyone. But several people.
Too many people.
Yes.
I would say more than one person is too many people. Or, why? She was a beautiful creature up until last week. I know everyone was going on the, hey, she didn't want to be considered a sex object, so move past it. He wasn't saying she was a sex object. She was a beautiful woman.
Well, he got first impressions. I mean, often are how you look. That's just how it is. And
I think people just needed a purpose, and they needed to be heard or wanted to be heard, and they were going to get onto the biggest media story of the day, so they attached themselves to that. I would like to talk to some of those people and say, between you and I and this Zoom recorder, do you really feel that way, or were you just being an idiot?
Yeah.
That's what I want to say to those people. So if I ever meet Steve Martin, first I'm going to say, you know what? I loved your tweet, and I loved your movie, The Jerk.
And I want to shake your hand.
Yes. What was your most controversial moment in 2016, Sarah?
Okay, so...
Oh, someone just said, and I don't remember who said it on one of our Scope Walkers, about Secret Squirrel.
Oh!
Yes. How did I forget that?
Okay, that's mine.
Okay, go ahead. Bring it up. And whoever it was that brought it up on Periscope, say that again so we can give you proper credit. Me.
Florida Fulcrum. Florida Fulcrum said, Secret Squirrel! And yes, in terms of our show, our podcast, Secret Squirrel was definitely the most controversial.
Okay,
so,
for those who missed that moment back in May, reiterate that.
So Richard and I were heading to go see, for the first day, the new Frozen show, right? And then we were planning on meeting up with our friend Anthony Fox and Becca and doing some recording after. So we brought in our big recorder with us, and we were at security check, because you always have to get checked for security before you go in, and they would not let us in with the recorder. So we're like, okay, well, I guess we'll go back to the car, which is like another almost an hour by the time you get back to the car and then come back to Disney. So we decided
they've let us change. They've let us come in time and time again with the recorder.
Yes, that too.
And not only did they stop us, but they made a big deal about it.
Yeah. So we started walking back, and we were going to go into Disneyland a different way, but then we noticed we were being followed. We were being followed by no less than, I think, 3 security people. And they were like manning the entrances, making sure we didn't go into Disney a different way, but went all the way back to the car.
But not only were they following us, but they were doing it like Secret Squirrel. They were like hiding behind plants and peeking through them like you would see on Gilligan's Island when someone's trying to be covert.
Yeah.
It was the funniest thing ever.
Yeah. Florida Fulcrum, I'm getting, is Matt Clifton, actually. Yeah.
And Matt also brought up the fact that when we did our meetup for the
Disney
Springs.
Springs.
The Dark Side Marathon.
Yeah.
Was that April? Must have been April.
Yeah.
I don't remember. But we were also stopped there by the East Coast Secret Squirrel.
Yeah. Outlaw Podcasting was born.
Outlaw Podcasting was born.
That's right, Amanda. Oh, my goodness. So, yes, I guess in terms of our podcast, that was definitely...
It's controversial because where does it say we can't bring in a Zoom recorder to Disneyland? So they're just making up things as they go along.
It's true.
But did we record that day anyway?
Yes, we did. iPhones are recorders.
Yeah, and we also did... we recorded on our iPhones at both meetups.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
You'll never stop us, Secret Squirrels.
That's right.
You'll never stop us. All right. Well, thanks, everyone, all of our Scope Walkers, for reminding us of that.
Duh.
Some things we just forget, so that's why we're one big happy family, all thanks to you.
Yes.
All right, now, speaking of happy family, let's now talk with another guest and see how they sum up 2016. Now, from Fangirls Going Rogue and FANGirl Blog, and if she does just one more guest appearance on Skywalking Through Neverland, we will consider her a regular. Now, here is Tricia Barr.
Hey, Tricia.
Thank you. A regular. I like the sound of that.
Oh, so do we.
Yeah, I think if you do 4 guest spots in a month, you're a regular.
Has it been that many?
I think almost.
Yeah, you did the Rogue One More Week.
Yeah.
The Carrie Fisher tribute. Now
this one.
On our retrospective, if you do just one more, you're a regular.
Yeah, so do something cool, and then we'll interview you.
Yeah, can you write a book or something?
Yeah.
I'll work on that in my spare time.
Maybe do another podcast.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Oh, man. Well, speaking of what you've all been doing, you've been on all of our year-end retrospectives going all the way back to 2013. Can you believe that?
See, she is a regular.
Yeah. One of my favorites was with Mark Newbold. We had a blast.
It's because of that one you've been asked back
Yeah.
again and again and again, and we'll get to that in just a little bit.
Now, okay, so you've done so much, of course, since then, but what would you say your personal highlight is of 2016 in particular?
Oh, personal highlight. I had a lot, so I'm going to zip through some of them and I'll maybe dwell on some important ones. One was qualifying for the World Championships in the horse show world with what I do. So that's highly unexpected when you do it. It's one of those things like making the World Series. It doesn't happen all the time.
Wow.
And then also getting to host the panel on STEM at Celebration and doing the Trials of Tatooine as kind of a byproduct of that, the most awesome virtual reality experience ever. And also hosting the podcast stage with Star Wars Report, and we had Anthony Bresnikan, and just going to see the world. I got to see Eastern Europe, then I went to Paris, and I went to London. So those were some of my real quickies, but the biggest, and we talked about this, was going to the Rogue One premiere and a Skywalker Ranch. So I would say that those are highlights. And then my other big highlight was for Fangirls Going Rogue getting in the New York Times because, right? That's like the coolest thing.
So you've had a couple of banner years leading up to 2016. Do you think 2016 by far exceeded
Surpassed?
the other years?
I think they're always, I'm always having to feel like I have to one up the next year, but that's a good thing.
That's a good goal.
Yeah, you and Richard. Richard's that too.
I'm a goal maker, so I always write down the things I want to do, and I write down long-term goals, and I write down yearly goals and short-term goals. So I think I've typically exceeded my goals most of the time, and it's one way that I find that I can get things done.
Yeah,
nice.
A list will always do it. On our way back from Arizona, I wrote out our goals leading up to 2024.
You did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I know we talked about some, but
We talked about 2017, but we'll talk about the rest later on.
oh, okay, sounds good.
Why 2024? Is there a reason 2024?
I like to plan short term.
Oh,
So
is that your short term?
yeah, we only had so much time on our way home, so I could only get to 2024.
Oh, that's
it would have been to 2026 had we gone to maybe Texas.
All right, got it.
Well, now, going back to January 1st of 2016, what were you looking forward to the most?
That was Celebration London. Knew it was going to do that. And then actually getting the opportunity just to ride the fantastic horse that I qualified for the World Championships. And at the beginning of 2016, Fangirls Going Rogue had just leapt off as our own podcast. So that was something that I was excited to when we had no limitations to see what we could do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
In your opinion, were there any big leaps in fandom?
Well, let's see. Pop culture progressed. One, we talked a lot about just finding toys that were girls or finding clothes, just a different variety, different things. And I remember going into Disney parks when Disney first bought Star Wars, and it was, you had slim pickings. You guys know this, and we have all done the tour together of the, Star Traders when you come out and just, come out of and look and see everything. And there's so much girl stuff there. Little girls, big girls, adult girls, maybe somebody wants to be less blingy or more blingy, however you want to do it. You can find it. So I think that is the fact that we weren't asking here's Jin this year. And so that's an amazing leap. I also think that getting to when we got to talk about Carrie Fisher's death, there was a leap where we understood how important she was as a person to so many other people. And I like that there was that outpouring and that it reinforced again how important women are to the franchise. So I know it's it's a negative thing, but I see it as a very positive thing. I feel like Carrie's looking down on the world and smiling because of it.
Yeah.
I actually feel that Leia has been important to so many people. I think that Jyn and Rey only give voice to a bit of fandom that has not been shown a light on for a lot. I mean, in 1978, the fanzines were being put out mostly by women, and the fan club was being run by a woman. And they were actually articles that said, where are the men in fandom? Because the women had, it's true, they had transitioned from Star Trek, and they a lot of the fan stuff was run by women. And there's pictures of convention panels with women sitting in the room with Marquand and Kasdan and all these people at conventions talking about storytelling. So women have always been in fandom. I think that, and there are a lot of feminists that I know who talk specifically about Leia being a very important step in their fandom, just like Ripley and, other characters. So Carrie Fisher has always meant a lot. And the reason I think we see little girls dressed as Leia is because their mothers are choosing to put that, that was the character that I wore for Halloween in 1977, was that Princess Leia outfit. And I know there are a lot of other women like myself. They just weren't seen as much.
Yeah, working with kids, I see a lot of little girls dressed as Leia, and I would think that it was their mom or dad who forced them into a Leia costume, but kids, if they don't want to do something, they're not going to do something.
Yeah.
So I think it's because kids are now being introduced to these new films that they see all these female characters, and they just really like Leia because she was the princess. She's got a princess in her title, but she doesn't act like a princess. She's rough. She doesn't take orders. She gives them.
Leia's actually more like the princesses we're seeing now in contemporary Disney films, right? She acted more like Rapunzel does in Tangled, and I believe probably how we'll see Belle act in the new live-action Beauty and the Beast, where they're more just in charge of their own destiny. So I think we're going to be celebrating 40 years. That's how progressive that character was.
Right.
Yeah, seriously. Now, it's funny you say that when we walk out of Star Tours, we see a lot of the little girl costumes and female character merchandise. All I see is that I am the Rebel Spy t-shirt, and it just haunts me every single time. It's like they put it right there just to go, ha, 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 Rich.
Drive in that knife.
Yeah.
Did you put it on your goal? I just want to know if it's on your list.
It is now.
Okay.
Oh,
you know what?
Okay.
I don't want the shirt that says, I am the Rebel Spy. I want the shirt that says, I am the Susan Lucci. Because I would buy that shirt.
Nice.
Neither of us can just catch a break.
I like that you even know what the Susan Lucci is. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Richard's of that generation.
I'm a pop culture kid of the 70s and 80s, and watching all those daytime Emmy Awards from every facet of television, and they would cut to her during the Emmys, and the winner is not Susan Lucci.
If I didn't know you, Richard, I wouldn't know who Susan Lucci was. And wasn't she crowned a Disney legend when we were there?
Yes, she was. At the same time George Lucas was.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she looked over at me and gave me the thumbs up, then the thumbs down.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well, speaking of thumbs down, Tricia, were there any disappointments in your fandom in 2016?
I know mine was not being chosen as Rebel Spy.
I still feel like sometimes people talk about inclusivity and they aren't necessarily doing that. So I would like to see it done more than it is talked about.
Can you give us an example?
Yeah.
Well, I would say if you talk about wanting to include all opinions and valuing them all, then maybe you should show that you do that, to have different people on. I mean, we do on Fangirls Going Rogue. We have a set goal of how many of different types of people we want to have on the show, and I think that makes us stronger as fans and as people to embrace different people and hear their opinions. Like one of my favorites was having Sophia and Cheney Hunt on, because their fans come from the Clone Wars and they see Star Wars in a completely different way than I do or you guys do. And I love getting reminded of that and going, okay, yeah, I could see how it be different to you as your experience. So that's kind of what, sometimes we talk about being inclusive, but we don't necessarily act on being inclusive. And it's actually, you have to go outside your comfort zone, right? You have to talk to people you don't know. I'm particularly shy person, but I like my lists. So I put my lists, and then when I look at it, I haven't done it, I will do it.
Nice. Yeah, so that makes sense. And it is actually great to expand your own mind by listening to other people's viewpoints and just being, it kind of turns your head and you get outside your bubble.
I actually had one other that I thought of, Sarah, specifically because Sarah and I really liked the romance of Star Wars. Empire Strikes Back. We talk about it a lot on our fandom. And I feel like we haven't seen that kind of Empire Strikes Back romance in Star Wars, that it isn't there yet. And, a lot of people think it's really cool because we're seeing characters who aren't necessarily tied into another character by romance. But I would like to see the romance of Star Wars come back in some way.
Yeah. Well, and Lost Stars is quickly becoming the best Star Wars novel. Mm-hmm. And that has a huge romance story. So I kind of feel, I'm not missing romance yet. I think because Lost Stars has filled that void for me at the moment.
Right.
Okay. Here's a question. The Han Solo film coming out. Would you want to see a romance in that?
No.
Yeah, me either.
Especially right now. It's
I
like,
know.
Hey, get your hands off of him.
Yeah.
He belongs to Leia.
Lando, maybe.
Yeah, right.
But as the central piece, no, not particularly. I think this has I still think this will be very much like they've talked about the Western look. They've talked about that again. I still think it's going to be like the Silverado sort of movie that we're going to see, except in space.
Well, Lawrence Kasdan is writing.
Yep.
So there's going to be a Kevin Costner cameo.
I hope so. He was in one of my favorite movies this year. So go for it.
Which one?
The year's only a day old.
Last year. Sorry. It all runs together. Hidden Figures. He was in Hidden Figures. Yeah. And nice. I really enjoyed that.
Okay, because if you were going to say Batman versus Superman versus Aquaman versus Captain America...
Was he in that?
I have to hang up. I don't know. I was barely paying attention.
All right. Well, Tricia, so what surprised you in 2016?
I don't know how many great stories that I did find, especially when I'm talking, as a person who does constructive criticism. I'm a pop culture critic. How many good stories I saw this year. So Star Wars Rebels, the end of season 2 was in 2016. That's amazing. Hera's Heroes from this year, which written by Nicole Dubach. And she also wrote The Inside Man that I really liked. The Last Battle by Brent Friedman from Star Wars Rebels. That was the one with Rex, and, we got to see kind of the old stormtroopers and the droids, and then Captain America Civil War. I thought that for a dark movie, it did a really good job. And Moana, La La Land, Jessica Jones on TV, The Crown on TV, Hidden Figures, I mentioned, Timeless. Sarah, it's on your homework list, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes. Awesome TV show. And then Bloodline by Claudia Gray was another favorite, which is the Leia-centric story. Right. Which I really enjoy. So, and then I got to rate for Star Wars Insider about pretty much all the cast bios, which was like over 5,000 words. It was a crazy assignment that I did, but how amazing they are as people, the cast, what they do fighting for the little people, Riz Ahmed, Diego Luna, and Forrest Whitaker. I mean, all these people are heroes in their own right. And, we talk about that with Carrie Fisher. Again, these people are too. So it was really cool to read about them and see who they were.
Wow.
All right. So if you could pare that down to a list, what would be number one? What surprised you the most in 2016?
I have to pick?
Yes. Or we can't move on.
Okay. The thing that surprised me the most of everything was Trials of Tatooine, which is the virtual reality experience at Celebration London.
Wow.
Oh, see, there's an answer.
Yeah. Although she did do her homework, you can tell.
Yes. Now, if you could tweet your 10-year-old self about something in 2016, what would it be?
I would say that the end of the year has been a bludgeon of a reminder that you need to tell people how important they are to you, and also say I love you to people and hug them when you get the chance. So I want to take this opportunity to thank my friends, my fellow podcasters like you guys, Sarah specifically for all the hard work she does on Fangirls Going Rogue, and Teresa Delgado and Sandra, who helps also, and all the writers at FANGirl Blog, because we've done amazing work this year, and I think there's more to come. So I'm telling all of them thank you publicly, and I've done that personally as well.
Aw. Well, thank you, Tricia. That's lovely.
I think that's a good lesson for any year.
Yeah.
No matter what you do.
Well, next time we see you, we'll have to give you a big hug.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which should be very, very soon.
Yeah?
Celebrate good times.
Woo.
Come on.
In about 4 months.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's in April this time.
Yeah.
Yay.
It's coming up. It's coming up. Now, aside from celebration, or you know what? Let's include celebration in your top 3 list of things you're looking forward to in 2017.
Well, okay, so we'll just say that everybody's looking forward to Celebration. Yes. At Celebration, my book, Star Wars Visual Encyclopedia, will be out.
Woohoo!
And I will be talking about it. So I'm excited for it. It's a really awesome, amazing book. So pre-order it. We can talk about it. It's fun. When I were a fanfic writer back in the day, I would have killed for this book just to have it as a resource. I'm just saying that. So it was really fun to work on it and create something that I know I would have used back in the day. And I think people will still use it today, obviously. So, you know, when we got to go to the Collider studio, Sarah and I did, and I met one of the big writers there, and he's like, "Oh, you wrote Ultimate Star Wars? I use that every day."
Wow.
And that, you know, that kind of feedback really makes you kind of, oh, okay, I'm glad I stayed up until 2 a.m. working hard on that every night for 3 months.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then I'm looking forward to episode 8. We did a hyperspace series on Rian Johnson, and man, that dude is talented as a storyteller, and he does understand genre, and he has a proven track record transforming genre, kind of elevating it, making it something new. So I'm excited for that, and I'm also excited for Star Wars Rebels because I feel like they were stalling for Rogue One. So I think we're going to see like all the things that they wanted to do before Rogue One came out. So we already know Saw's coming. Saw Gerrera will be on it. And I think we'll see more characters that we know.
Oh, exciting. You know, I was going to ask you, so when did your Rian Johnson episode come out?
It was our last episode before we did our Rogue One. So 2 episodes ago?
So
Pretty
recently.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's worked with some famous people, and when he talks about storytelling, he knows his stuff. And, you know, even J.J. Abrams said he saw the script, wished he could have been directing it. Yeah. And Larry Kasdan commented, he's doing something really different.
Oh.
And I like that he says that you know, they're excited about it too, because obviously they created something, so they're excited for what's coming forward.
Well, even Mark Hamill said that some of the quotes in the script are going to replace "May the Force be with you" as the biggest Star Wars quotes ever.
What?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, tell that to Kanji Club.
Oh man, that's awesome.
There are actually, if you go look out on Vimeo, Rian Johnson has some free short films that he's made that you can kind of get a taste of what he's capable of, and they don't take longer than 8 to 12 minutes to watch. So
nice.
I think we can do
I'll have
that.
to check that out.
Now, I know we talked about this in the very beginning, but do you have specific goals in 2017?
My ultimate goal would be to be able to write something fiction in Star Wars. So that's my ultimate goal that's on that list. It's scribbled on a note. So, you know, I've doing nonfiction work. I think I'm strong as a fiction writer. So that is a goal of mine.
I can see that.
If that happened, then I would say, okay, I've accomplished what I wanted to do for something. It would make a year topper.
Awesome.
And if you could write about a character, who would it be? Say Walrus Man. Say Walrus Man. Say Max Rebo. Max Rebo.
No, the Handmaidens. Yeah, I have all these little stories about where they ended up beyond the prequel trilogies.
So I'm going to guess Max Rebo is off the table?
You know, he's really cute, but I didn't buy his stuffed animal from Celebration, so
Okay. Well, we have him sitting right back here.
He's right back here. It was a gift from Jeff Long. And if you do write this Max Rebo story, we will give it to you.
Well, I will try if I get to write anything fiction to make sure to bring Max Rebo into it somehow.
Right? If you want to go on that female slant, you can always go with Cy Snoodles.
We'll talk about size noodles some other time. I had to do research on her once, and it was very painful because there's so many different, like this, and that, and then what she's added in a little more.
Oh.
So there's like all these different versions of her, and you're like, are you talking about the special edition version or, whatever? So she makes it very complicated to write about her as a nonfiction writing assignment.
So Tricia's crossing her off her list. I'm sorry, Richard. You're gonna have to fill in.
That's fine. You know what? I'll be happy with Max Rebo.
Okay. All right. So the last question now, Tricia.
Drum roll, please.
What would be your hashtag for 2016?
Or your number. Your number or your hashtag, depending on what generation of fan you are.
I picked a number. It was 7, but then I realized that, that I will be the eternal butt of jokes for that one. Richard even clarified it in the questions when he sent it. Just in case she still doesn't get it. But what is?
It's a persisting joke that we've been going on from 2013 since the first question we sent to you was, what would be your number sign for 2013?
Yep.
Yeah.
Meaning, I thought I was being all hip and with it,
right?
but by not saying hashtag and putting a number tag.
Tricia wasn't as hip and with it.
So that we are all laughing at me right now for something that I did that was incredibly ridiculous and dorky. My hashtag is Be Carrie.
Oh.
So I'm allowing myself to make fun of something I did in life that was really kind of dippy.
And that's why you're asked back year after year.
Yep. That's a great hashtag. Oh, that's very fitting.
Yes. Hashtag Be Carrie. I love it.
All right, Tricia. Well, thank you for joining us today. But before we go, please tell our Skywalkers, if they don't already know, where they can find you on social media.
Well, you can always find me chatting about on Twitter at Fangirl Cantina. I do pop in and out of the Skywalker Face group because I love everybody there and they always bring great thoughts and insights. And then you can find me, same thing, Instagram at Fangirl Cantina, and you can find my blog, FANGirl Blog, and you can also look at us up at fangirlsgoingrogue.com.
Thank you,
right.
Tricia, and hashtag Be Carrie.
Now, if you're thinking about the word fandom, what's the one word that comes to mind? Go.
Happy.
I love that. What a perfect word to use on Skywalking Through Neverland. Happy.
Yeah.
Happy.
We're just happy here.
That's all we want for everyone in 2017 and beyond, is to be happy.
It's all happy, happy, happy down here.
You and your Love Actually quotes. Oh,
I know.
As of December 31st, you can't quote that movie anymore. Not until after Thanksgiving. You can quote whatever you want. You can quote whatever you want.
Okay.
Judging by that look you just gave me. All right, now, Sarah, if you could hashtag 2016, what would it be? What would sum up the whole year in a hashtag?
Oh, well, okay, so I kind of looked at the hashtag as maybe coming from the year, but then in going forward. So my hashtag is hashtag carry on, which is Carrie Fisher spelled. So Carrie, carry on. And I don't remember who initially tweeted that hashtag, but it really touched me because, in light of losing such a legend, I was made aware of just how influential Carrie Fisher was just beyond Star Wars. She talked candidly about her life so others could learn what not to do in terms of addiction and her, bipolar disorder and everything. So Carry On not only means remembering her, but also to just for ourselves to remember to carry on being fearless. We're not afraid to take chances or speak our mind, just carry on.
Amanda Bond just commented that was Peter Mayhew.
Oh,
I had first tweeted that out.
Oh, well, thank you, Peter Mayhew.
Yeah,
that hashtag gives me chills.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'm going to borrow a hashtag from a friend of mine named Matthew Irving.
Mm-hmm.
And this goes from 2016 into 2017 into 2019. And that is hashtag keep Leia alive.
Oh.
Now, my friend Matt had emailed me and said this. He said,
this is what he thinks should happen.
Yeah, what he thinks should happen maybe like episode 9.
Okay.
Instead of getting killed off, Leia gets seriously wounded, like Anakin on Mustafar, wounded, and becomes a kind of Vader figure fighting for the Resistance. It can even be a slick redesign of her Bausch persona from Return of the Jedi.
Wow.
Now, I like the idea of keeping Leia alive, because if Leia dies in episode 8 or 9...
It's going to be like all over again. We're going to be so
imitating
sad.
life. It's going to be really, really sad.
Yeah.
And I don't want them to, like in sitcoms, when an actor dies, then they kill off his character. But then again, it's a hard choice.
Wow.
It's a hard choice, but I don't want them to, and I think this is what Matt was saying too, they shouldn't kill her off just because Carrie Fisher has passed away.
Right.
So let's keep hashtag keep Leia alive.
And not just in movies, but just remember her, right? I mean, that it also has a double meaning as well.
Yeah, definitely yes. Definitely yes. But his idea, what do you think of that, of her being like a Bausch type of character, or like Darth Vader, or Anakin in the Darth Vader outfit?
Right. Well, Joey Pittman says, I trust Star Wars Story Group.
Yeah.
On that.
I do too.
Yeah, so let's hope and let's tweet that hashtag. Oh, Marcus, thank you for joining us.
Doring just said, miss you guys. Oh, miss you too. And we will see you very shortly at Celebration Anaheim.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Orlando.
Yeah.
You know what? I got mixed up because someone had just said CGI. All right, that's a whole new topic.
Yes.
We want to see a CGI Leia in episode 9, the way we saw Tarkin in Rogue One.
That's a hard question that I have to think about before answering.
So if we don't want her character to die, and she can't always be in the other room, like, so, see, oh, wow.
Yeah, I think we're all pondering that.
That's not an easy answer.
Only if done with love. Well, it would be, because these are fans now making the trilogy.
Yeah.
Or the film.
Joey just said we saw the young Leia in Rogue One.
That was different.
That's a different situation. And then Joey said for episode 152, Leia or not to Leia?
Yes, that is the question.
All right. Now, looking forward to 2017.
Okay.
What are you most excited about?
Well, of course, episode 8 itself.
All right. You know what? Tell me what you're most excited about for episode 8. What within episode 8 are you most looking forward to?
Okay. Well, honestly, I really love that we do the liningup.net thing for Hollywood, and the TCL Chinese Theater IMAX.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
That's right. And I just think that's just the most fun experience. And every time we do that, it actually becomes more like a family reunion. And so you're watching the movie with like 100 of your best friends, and they're all so into it. Like, by far my favorite experience watching Rogue One was with liningup.net at the TCL Chinese Theater.
So you're looking forward to the fandom more than the movie.
I think so. Just watching it with fans, and everyone like gasps at the same beat. At the same beats in the movie. Everyone, claps at the same beats. That's what's fun about Star Wars. That's what I didn't realize was fun about Star Wars when I first got into it. Because I watched it by myself, on a video.
Right.
And it wasn't until 97 that I experienced what it was like to be in a packed theater with everyone cheering when the Death Star blew up.
Well, to build off of that, I'm looking forward to Celebration Orlando for that same reason.
Oh,
Not
yes.
so much for the convention, but for seeing all of our family of friends.
Yes,
doing
absolutely.
more stuff with them, hanging out with them, seeing them more than just hearing, or more than just seeing their name come up.
Yeah.
And Jay Pitty said about episode 8, hearing Luke speak.
Yes, that's going to be exciting.
So I can't wait for Celebration Orlando. And on the way back from our Christmas vacation in Arizona,
What happened?
We had planned some things that we were going to do at Celebration Orlando, like the Hoojib Hop. And we can't wait to talk to Amanda Bond about. She said that she was going to make some Hoojib ears for everybody,
or help at least facilitate that.
Yeah,
so yes,
yeah.
yes.
She's good at making that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So that will be really exciting. So yeah, so I'm going to piggyback off of your answer and say for Celebration Orlando, I'm not excited about the panels or the dealer room. Last time for Anaheim, I think we went in the dealer room like once.
Yeah, and that's unusual for you.
I know.
You used to spend the whole convention in the dealer room.
I know.
Wow.
It was you that got me into the panels.
Yeah?
I didn't even know what a panel was. They have panels at conventions? I thought it was just a dealer room.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to hanging out with everyone, not just at the convention, but afterwards, recording our round table on Sunday.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going
so
to be
exciting.
way awesome. All right, what else for 2017
Okay.
are you looking forward to?
So here I'm going to jump to some movies and go on the Disney side here. I am so looking forward to Beauty and the Beast. And that's coming out right around my birthday. So, birthday Sarah meetup?
Oh, yeah.
Birthday movie watching, yay.
Your birthday is on March 10th. The movie
Yes.
comes out March 17th.
Mhm.
So we'll go see it for our third time on your birthday?
Maybe.
Just as a tangential point,
Yes?
we're going to see Rogue One on my birthday in 13 days.
Oh, okay. Sounds good.
Got to see a Star Wars movie on my birthday.
Aw.
Okay, back to the show.
Okay. So, Beauty and the Beast, and then moving to the, I guess not Marvel, but DC side of things, Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman. Yeah.
Not only because it's, that female superhero, but Chris Pine's in it. So I'm excited.
And so is Wonder Woman.
And so is Wonder Woman.
So is Wonder Woman.
So there's something for both of us.
Yes. Yes. And Matt Clifton said Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So many great films coming out in this year,
Yeah.
including Episode 8, which I'm really excited about just because it's going to be a darker film like Empire.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
Bad Wobot says Dunkirk. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
moving right along.
Well,
we
I'm
say that
glad-
just because we had seen the 25-minute trailer before Rogue One.
We're like waiting. When will this end?
What are we watching here? So I think that soured me on. Oh, plus it's Christopher Nolan, which for Christmas I'm gonna get him a long shot lens. I'll get him a wide angle lens. All right, now use it.
But we're glad you're looking forward to Dunkirk. But yes, I think you're right. We were like, when will this 10, 15 minute trailer end so we can just watch the movie? All right.
All right. Also, now,
okay, what else are
I'm
you
looking forward to in 2017, what I was looking forward to in 2016, Star Wars Land announcements. We've got to have some more announcements. We got to know what's going on.
We know D23 Expo is happening this year.
Oh, it is in July. Oh, you know what? Let's put that down on our calendar.
Yeah, we need to.
We can't miss that. Yes. Yes, because there will be announcements.
Yeah, even if it's not a date yet, they'll probably have some more idea of what the land will house, like what rides will be called or what's going to be in the experience.
And how much of that concept rendering is going to come to fruition.
Right.
Oh, I can't. And whenever we go to Disneyland, we watch the construction, I always am anticipating my feeling of seeing the beginning structure of the Millennium Falcon go up, or the Tantive 4 I think we saw in the buried in the corner, or the Lambda class shuttle. Once we start seeing those structures go up,
it's going to be so exciting.
Yeah, I worked one day of construction back in 1988. One day.
Aww.
And I said, nope. But I will want to get on that construction crew. I will dig ditches as many as they need just to hurry things along.
Well, the ditches have already been dug. Now they're building up.
Yeah.
You need to learn how to pour cement.
Done. Done.
Joey says, I'm hoping they'll hand out concept art poster at the parks panel. I hope so too. Get ready to stay overnight and wait a long time.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, yeah, there's so much looking forward to when we could spend a whole episode on just what we're looking forward to in 2017.
Yeah.
But now let's get to our final guest. And he has been doing a bang-up job rallying podcasters and listeners together for a happier and healthier fandom.
So from the Star Wars Podcast Alliance Facebook group, here is Tyler Westhouse.
Hey, Tyler.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I'm happy to be back.
Well, thanks for being back, and a happy 2017 to you.
Yeah, thank God. It's 2017 finally.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. Counting down the minutes to that one.
Right?
It's about time.
Yeah. Now, when you were last on in November, the Podcast Alliance group had just hit the 3,000 member mark. Where are you now?
We've lost 3,000 members. It's over. No.
No.
It was fun while it lasted.
We just hit 4,000 members right before the New Year.
Goodness.
Moving on up. I think a lot of the Skywalking listeners have popped in because I've seen a rise in kindness from the general. But there's a lot of great people in your group that I like a lot.
Yeah.
So I spend a lot of time in there.
Oh,
Join both groups. Be a part of both.
Yes.
You are one with the family.
And the family is one with you.
Yeah.
Oh.
What was the most unusual post you had seen in 2016 in your Podcast Alliance group?
Oh, jeez.
Let's hit you with that one first.
After I left the previous podcast I worked for, there was a post that accused me of being a CIA agent or something like that. And basically they said that it was an insinuation that I was one, an awful person, and two, a spy. And I couldn't tell if it was a joke, but they were saying something like, I don't know if Tyler worked for the CIA or what, but he was clearly, the only reason he worked for that show was to get information, and now he's trying to burn it all down. I just read the post, and I was like, okay. I went into my admin chat, and I was like, do you guys think I should leave this up? And one of my admins just like, I mean, it's true, isn't it? You work for the CIA? I was like, yeah, okay, I get it. But I guess that's the weirdest. There was a conspiracy theory that Harrison Ford was going to be portraying Han Solo in the Han Solo spin-off standalone, and that it wasn't really a young Han Solo movie. It was about Han Solo's other son, and I was just kind of perplexed at that one.
Wow. Huh. Wow.
Okay.
But the one with the about the CIA agent, you're not part of the CIA, are you?
Guys, I gotta go.
There's a knock on his door. There's a guy with sunglasses and a clipboard and telling him.
It's my handler. He doesn't want me to spill the beans.
All right, Mr. Westhouse, please get on helicopter C-47.
Yeah, he must have sunglasses, right?
Yeah. Nice. Now, going back to the beginning of 2016, what can you say that you were looking forward to the most in pop culture?
Okay, in pop culture. I was going to go with sports because I know how much you guys love sports.
I love those sports teams. The one that has the ball.
You could think of the word team, Richard.
Is it a group? Is it an alliance? I don't know.
Is it a gathering?
Yeah. Is it a legal gathering? We don't know.
All right. Well, I'm going to give two answers. One's going to be a sports answer. The first one was the Chicago Cup season. That went really well. All right, I'm done talking about sports. The second one is I think it was just the influx of Star Wars content that we'd be getting. And that's sort of a repeating cycle with me. And I think it's going to be a repeating cycle for everybody because you're going to be getting so much Star Wars until you die. You're just going to love it all. I was really excited for all the Star Wars Battlefront DLCs that were coming out because I'm a big gamer and I really love Star Wars Battlefront. I was super excited for Rogue One, but there was also DLC for Battlefront that tied into Rogue One, so it was all sort of connected. It was mostly Star Wars stuff that I was most excited for. I got really excited about a bunch of smaller films that are not Star Wars related, like La La Land and Manchester by the Sea, and I saw those and I absolutely love them, but it's mostly Star Wars for me. That's the staple.
Okay.
Hear, hear. Now, did you have any personal high points in 2016?
It was starting to write for StarWars.com and contribute to them, without a doubt. That started in January, February, and it was something I didn't expect to happen. And when it did happen, I kept thinking, why are they letting me do this? I don't deserve this. And, I don't think they realized that, one, I'm 20. And I met the guy Dan who helps me at Lucasfilm, who's a really great guy. I got to go on a tour of Lucasfilm, actually, which is another high point. And when I was there, I was sort of just like, you guys do realize I'm a 20-year-old college student, right? I should not be here. I don't deserve this. But that's probably the high point, honestly. It's just absolutely mind-blowing that if you if I type in my name in Google or something, StarWars.com shows up as one of the first options. And it's,
Oh, wow.
It's like it fills my ego with happiness.
Wow.
That would definitely, I would say, is a good high point.
What was your favorite article you'd written for StarWars.com?
I think it was the very first one that I've still done. And it's a interview article feature thing where I interviewed Jonathan Davis and Mark Thompson, who are two very well-known narrators of the Star Wars audiobooks and voice actors in general. And I only read the Star Wars books by listening to the audiobooks because the production value on them is just absolutely incredible. They sound like old school radio dramas, like the old Star Wars radio dramas. They have sound effects and music, and the voice acting by the voice actors is fantastic. And I pitched Lucasfilm on the story itself. Like, I think that the audiobook narrator should get more of a focus, and the audiobooks aren't appreciated enough. They agreed, and that went up. And I still think it's the most well-written, most interview that I've done in one of my articles, and I'm hoping to do some more stuff like that, more long-form stuff with them in the future, because there's some other stuff in Star Wars that isn't as appreciated as I think it should be. But audiobooks are definitely up there. I can't thank Jonathan Davis and Mark Thompson enough for even agreeing to talk to me. And then David Collins helped me out a lot with it because David Collins knows everybody, and David Collins put me in touch with them.
And he is the nicest man in show business.
Yeah.
There's nobody nicer than David Collins that I've ever met. And that's not he's the absolute most wonderful person I've ever met.
Oh.
Yeah, I think he's even happier than we are.
Not sure about that, but it's a high bar, Richard.
Yeah.
Well,
you know what? Let's put a post out on that on your Facebook group.
Who is nicer, the Skywalking crew or David Collins? Then we'll throw Steve Lawson and Riley Blanton in there as bonus extras.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, boy.
That's funny.
That'd be a fun experiment.
Well, okay, so Tyler, let's turn to a little bit of the negative side. Were there any 2016 disappointments in your fandom?
I was slightly disappointed with the beginning of the season of Rebels. I think Rebels Season 3 started off a little bit slow, but I think it's really, really picked up from that point. Like, the most recent episode, Visions and Voices, is probably my second favorite episode they've ever done. I really, really liked that episode. I think it's picking up steam. Non-Star Wars related is basically anything that DC has put out film-wise. I was excited for Batman v Superman, and I saw that me and my best friend Matt always see comic book movies together. We always see them back to back in IMAX because we have an IMAX like 5 feet from our house. And we saw Batman v Superman once, and it's like, oh no. And then we saw it twice, and it's like, I want it to be over. And then Suicide Squad was just, I bought 2 tickets and I only saw it once, and I don't want to ever see it again.
Oh.
Yeah, that was one of my surprises, I would say, for 2016. Looking back at that now, I really liked Suicide Squad.
Did you really?
Yeah, Sarah and I just watched it a couple nights ago. Was it on New Year's Eve? And we really, really liked it. Okay,
Well,
2 words, Harley Quinn.
One positive surprise was that Ben Affleck was awesome as Batman.
Yeah?
He was really fantastic.
That's true.
Well, there's Ben Affleck in Suicide Squad for 3 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, and he was really good in those 3 minutes.
Oh no, he's fantastic. Ben Affleck, I have a crush on Ben Affleck. He's the best.
Your man crush. All right.
All right, so how about surprising moments? What happened for you in 2016 that you just didn't see coming until it was there?
Going off on my own when it comes to podcasting and the community in general was not something that I was planning on. I was pretty comfortable working with RFR, and I grew to really separate from them, I think, and I ended up just wanting to do my own thing and be more in the community at large. I wanted to be able to talk to people like you guys. I wanted to be able to talk to people like my friend Steele, like Bryan Young, just a lot of people in the community. So it was something that I started thinking about early on in 2016, but it was something I never really thought that I'd be able to do. I was very scared about the repercussions of me leaving what was the biggest show. And when I did, there was maybe like 3 or 4 people that were really, really against it, and one guy who thought I was in the CIA. And beyond that, everybody has been and was super, super supportive. The Podcast Alliance came out of that. I'm in the process of a super secret website related project tied into the Podcast Alliance. I'm helping out with some planning for some Carrie Fisher related memorial stuff for Celebration. I'm talking to people. I'm appearing on podcasts. I'm getting to meet a lot of great friends. Like I got to finally talk to you guys. I hadn't talked to you guys really since I had left Rebel Force Radio. Yeah. I'm meeting a lot of great people, and I didn't expect to be as welcomed into the community as I was. So that's probably a big surprise for me. And that's just the cynical millennial in me being cast aside and saying, like, not everybody hates you. Some people hate you.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you had branched out, because I really like what you had to say on Rebel Force Radio, and I've heard you on other shows, and I thought, wow, this guy, I'm so glad he's not just so suppressed in a corner and not being able to speak his mind.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to be friends with who you want to without being worried of repercussions. Now, my CIA handler obviously doesn't want me to on certain things, but
right. Well, and as we were talking about before on this show, it's good to get different viewpoints of people. And you being a millennial, being 20 years old, you have a far different viewpoint than some of us who are 15, 20, 25 years older than you. So
yeah, a lot of the community in general, I think, tends to skew older than millennial, or they're on the later end of the millennial spectrum when it comes to age. But that's just because a lot of people grew up with Star Wars and then they got into podcasting and stuff like that. And there's a lot of younger people my age who are really interested in getting into it, who I know, it can be intimidating because there have been podcasts like Rebel Force Radio has been around for 10 years. Bryan Young has been talking about Star Wars for 10 years. And I was 10 years old when everybody started. So it's kind of scary for some people to get really involved with it. But there's a lot of young people in the community who are really holding the torch. I like to think that I'm doing my part to help out with that. People like Riley Bland, who's also really young, Savannah Kiefer, like Charlie Ashby, who helps me out with the Podcast Alliance. There's a lot of really great people that are from a different generation who are coming up. And it makes me excited for in 20 years when Star Wars episode whatever comes out, there's going to be some kid who's just like, oh, I heard you on a podcast and you just complained about all your problems, and now look at me, my spaceship doesn't work. My problems will look petty compared to theirs. But it's very exciting knowing that there's people from so many different generations working in the community. Everybody comes together for one thing.
What year or how long have you been in the fandom community where you've been working on shows or in Facebook groups?
Well, that's a bit of a complicated question, Richard. I was really, really heavy in the gaming and pop culture community through a podcast I used to listen to called The Comedy Button, and I still listen to it religiously. I started listening to them 6-7 years ago, and it was hosted by a bunch of guys who worked at IGN. Some still work at IGN. One actually now works at Lucasfilm, a guy named Scott Bromley, he's a really good friend, and he's someone I've looked up to for most of my adult life. I mean, pretty much all of it, considering I started talking to him when I was 14. He's a really great guy. And they made a Facebook group for an old show. And then when they created The Comedy Button, I joined that Facebook group, and I was a really obnoxious little kid. A lot of people disliked me because I was 14 years old, and then I turned 15, and I thought I was really smart, and I thought it was really funny, and I wasn't. But it really taught me how to behave and how to act in an online community. And it's sort of shaped the vision that I want for the Podcast Alliance. And I think you guys are doing that on your own as well, just through the nature of the content that you guys make. The Skywalking group is crazy positive to the point where it's just if I comment something slightly negative, somebody's going to be super nice to me and I won't know how to respond. It's unbelievable. But the Comedy Button, growing up, I look back and I'm just I really don't like the way I behaved. I made mistakes, and I'd like to help people avoid those by sort of nipping those in the bud. So I don't want a community that harbors hatred, that harbors just people being rude to each other. I don't want people talking down to each other. If somebody comes in and they say, I really like Jar Jar Binks, I don't want somebody coming in and saying, you're an idiot. If somebody wants to come in and say, I don't like Jar Jar Binks, here's why, and they can get along at the end of it, that's perfect. That's what I want.
Well, that's really ironic because a lot of people who are on social media all the time, their social skills decrease. Well, I think yours had increased through social media and learning how to communicate with people, and what you say can cause a disturbance, or it can cause people to start a conversation. And I think a lot of people just don't really understand what social media can do, and I'm glad that you've gone upward, whereas a lot of people will just have a long slope going down as they're just thinking there's no repercussions to what they have to say.
It's a very different way of talking. Like, you can't talk to somebody on social media the way that you would talk to them in person, and I can't talk to somebody via text the way I would talk to somebody in person. It's hard to detect sarcasm and intent through text. People can do their best, but I mean, if I call out some baseball player I don't like and say that they stink, I'm not going to tell that baseball player in person because they could destroy me. And it's also incredibly rude. So a lot of people hide behind social media to sort of be more rude. But I think the vast majority of people are starting to act both ways. Like, if they're going to be jerks in real life, they'll be jerks on social media, and you'll be able to point that out real quickly, and you don't need to be around those people. But if they're genuine in real life, there's no reason they wouldn't be genuine on social media, especially on Facebook, because your name is attached to it. It's not an anonymous thing. If you're a jerk, I mean, you're not hiding behind anything. If you're fine with people thinking you're a jerk, that's cool. But the vast majority of people I know are not the type of people who don't care if people think they're jerks. Most people are very self-conscious about it now. And I grew up on the internet. I grew up with Facebook. Facebook is all I don't remember a time when I didn't have a Facebook, just when I had a MySpace. And even then I think I had Facebook.
Funny.
Yeah, it's just something that I've learned through time. But I have a lot of faith in people in general. A lot of people are very cynical when it comes to social media and online communities, but I have faith that people really want to do the right thing and get along. Otherwise, why would you be on a place where you want to talk to people?
Right. What do you think was the biggest improvement in 2016 in fandom in general?
In fandom in general?
Yeah.
I think there was a lot. I think there was a really heavy and greater push for equality and representation, and saying you need to conform or we're going to leave you behind. And I think when you're dealing with negative influences in the community, and as of late in the community, there have been some notable people who have said some stuff that hasn't been very accepting and hasn't been very kind. And the community has responded and pushed back and says, that's not something that's acceptable. Not anymore. You need to be more accepting. You need to be more welcoming. I think as people become more socially aware and socially conscious, and I'm not using the word socially liberal because I don't want to make it political, but as people become more aware of people, they have to start realizing that you can't just be rude to people anymore. And that ties back into talking on the internet. Like old school Facebook groups, people would just say the most awful stuff in the world to me. But now I've known those people for 6 years, and they know me as a person, and they're not going to call me a snot-nosed teenager anymore. They might just say that I'm an annoying millennial, but they're not going to be as rude as they used to be. You can't just go around and be hateful anymore and spew that. You might find a little bit of an audience, but you're going to lose people, and people are going to start being aware. And I think there's some members of the community who started to realize that this year, and then I think there's some members of the community who really held the torch and ran with it and said, we are going to make sure that everybody who wants to be a part of Star Wars especially can be a part of Star Wars. Nobody is going to be excluded.
And now I think with so many more meetups at conventions and screenings, people do realize, oh, you're more than an emoji or an icon. You're an actual person.
Yeah, or a Twitter name.
Yeah.
or a hashtag.
Yep.
I mean, if you tweet at somebody and they tweet back and you don't expect them to, that can be a shell shock for you. Like if I tweet at Taylor Swift and say, Taylor Swift, I don't like your album, and she says, why not? I'll be like, oh, God, what do I do? She's talking to me.
That's funny. Well, that brings up our next question, and that would be looking back at 2016. What would you say would be your hashtag? That kind of sums up 2016.
Up the year.
I'm trying to think, should I be witty or should I just be honest? Or
you know what? Just be Tyler.
Oh. Well, that's cool.
That was the best. Oh.
It might just be like hashtag surprise, surprise. There was a lot of really shocking stuff that happened this year, not just in fandom, but in life in general. A lot of shocking stuff happened to me. Leaving RFR was a big thing. That was a shock. And it turned out great for me. Starting to write for Lucasfilm was a gigantic thing, or writing for StarWars.com rather, to contribute and be a part of a team of contributors filled with so many great, smart people was really exciting. To appear on podcasts was great. To have my sports team, the Chicago Cubs, win the World Series for the first time since 1907 was a big deal for me. Probably the biggest surprise that I had, now that I'm thinking about it, was a few days, well, the day before Christmas, I had my dad bring in the mail, and he handed me a letter, and he's like, "This is your name on it. It's from San Francisco." And I said, "What?" And I turned it around and had the Lucasfilm stamp on it. And I opened it up, and it was a holiday card from Lucasfilm. Aww. And it was signed by a lot of people at Lucasfilm, and it had art from Doug Chang in it. And it was just extremely, extremely gratifying. And it's hard to describe because it doesn't seem like a gigantic deal. Like, it's a holiday card. I've gotten holiday cards before. But the fact that people at a company that work on something that I admire so much thought enough to say, like, let's send Tyler a holiday card, and then thought enough to say, let's personalize it by signing it. It really, really meant the world to me. And it was sort of validation for everything that I had done over the year. The work to start writing for StarWars.com, the ups and downs I had, going out on my own. It was really, really validating to know that there are people who appreciate it, and people that I respect who appreciate it as well. Especially at such a fantastic company as that. It was absolutely mind-blowing. And I'm nerdy to the point where I'm now looking at ways to frame the holiday card.
Oh yeah, by Doug Chang, of course.
That's how crazy special it is to me.
Wow.
So yeah, do hashtag surprise for Tyler. Might as well. It's bland. Yeah. It's not that creative, but I think it's truthful.
But you just validated it in so many different ways.
Right. Well, now seeing how 2016 kind of changed your life, do you have a personal goal in your fandom for 2017?
I want to become even more a part of the community. There's a lot of people in the community that I don't know that I would like to know, not because I have aspirations of working for or with them, just because I want to get to know them. Like, there's Brian and Nancy from Tachi Station were people that I really admired, and I didn't really have a way to talk to them. Savannah Kiefer was somebody that I really respected in the community, and I finally got to start talking to Savannah, and I consider Savannah a really good friend, and I just started talking to her at the end of 2016, in December. And she and I get along really well, and we're actually working on a secret podcast project together with my friend Mike Audette, which news about that coming soon.
Well, it's not secret anymore.
You don't know what it's about, though.
That's true.
It can be about sports. You might not care. It's not about sports. Yeah, but there's a lot of people I want to get to know. There's a lot of people I want to talk to. I want to start writing a lot more. I think that I could become a good writer. I don't think I'm a good one. I don't think I'm that much of a good writer right now. Bryan Young sort of inspired me when I saw him posting writing goals, and he has a goal this year to write 500,000 words. I'm not going to do that, but writing a couple thousand, maybe a month for me, would be an improvement. I think just pouring my creativity into something. I really want to get that Podcast Alliance website off the ground. I want to start doing my best to help people in the community in whatever way I can. Just really becoming ingratiated. I mean, I've only been doing my own thing for 2 months, and I think making an identity for myself and helping the people who are in my community make it so that they really feel like they have a place that they belong in the Alliance, and just podcasters in general as well. I want people to be able to come in there and feel welcome and not feel like it's dominated by 3 or 4 shows. I want it to be dominated by 50 or 100 shows, or however many people want to come in and share their content.
Yeah, well, the great thing about your Facebook page, the group rather, is that it's not just podcasters. There's a lot of listeners who go in and out of conversations too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's listeners from across every single show. There's There's people who exclusively listen to Skywalking. There's people who exclusively listen to Steel Wars. There's people who listen to Steel Wars and Skywalking, and then somebody who's never heard of those who's listening to Full of Sith. And they can get to hear new shows. They can get to meet new people. They can have perspectives changed. one of the things I want to do with his website, and I haven't gone into many details about it on other shows, but I mean, I might as well now. It's a retrospective. Is I want this website that I'm launching to not serve the purpose of advertising the Alliance, really, but to serve the purpose of if somebody sees episode 8 and they really think like, I love Star Wars, I forgot how much I love Star Wars, I want to get into Star Wars podcasting, I want somebody to be able to just Google Star Wars podcast, click on that page, and see 50 awesome shows hosted by awesome people with little info and tidbits about the shows, the most recent episodes. Here's a little bit about the host. Here's where you can find the shows. Just making it really accessible for people who are already in the community and people who want to come into the community to get just really engrossed in it. Because there is a ton to talk about with Star Wars. I have friends who are in the games industry who I talk to who are just amazed that people can talk about Star Wars as much as they do. And I mean, to me, it's not that crazy because I come from the games community where the games community can talk about anything for hours and hours and hours. And I can do the same with Star Wars. We had a gigantic argument the other day in our community, not an argument, a conversation rather, about like how to pronounce Bodhi Rook's name. And it had like 100 comments. And I just commented. It was like, I really love that Star Wars fans can just take the most minute, inconsequential details of the films and just expand upon it for hours. I really think it's something special about the community and about the content that we're talking about that we can just I mean, I can talk with you guys about the most like stupid Star Wars stuff in the world and we can still have engaging conversation. Like Richard, you and I went back and forth about Tarkin for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, Star Wars just inspires creativity, whether that be artwork, whether that be talking about it, or just there's so much there to expand upon.
Yeah, and I had met people in the last couple of months. We start talking about Star Wars, and I tell them what I do, and they say, I'd love to get into the community. How do I do that? And they're very sincere, and they're very nervous. Like, well, you know what? Go to our Facebook group, jump in there, and it'll just splinter from there. So I'm glad to hear that you have a Podcast Alliance website coming up where people can use that as a springboard.
Mm-hmm. And it's like the type of thing, and I mean, this is open to anybody really. Hit me up with the details and I'll throw your podcast on the site. It's going to be like in very small words in the upper corner, we'll say Podcast Alliance. But the big thing is it's a very like minimalist design. It's going to promote your show first and foremost, and it's just going to put it out there. So if nobody has ever heard of Skywalking Through Neverland, hopefully they can just click an arrow and say, oh, what's this show? Oh, I like this logo.
Yeah.
Oh, I like Skywalking and I like Neverland.
Oh, you're going to create your own network, aren't you?
I'm planning on doing my own stuff, but the goal isn't really to create I don't want to create like a podcast empire or any of that stuff. I don't want to create something as big as like making Star Wars or what Rebel Force Radio had before they splintered off and decided to do their own thing, sort of. Before you guys used to be part of their network with Shot Glass.
Shot Glass Digital.
Yeah, there's a few things that I'd like to do. There's a couple of show ideas that are Star Wars and non-Star Wars related. Like the thing I'm looking forward to most next year is not Star Wars, believe it or not. But I have a couple of like show ideas I'd like to do. So yeah, I mean, I have content that I want to make. Whether or not it's going to be good is to be determined. But if I make it, you'll be able to find it on that website whenever it goes up. Whenever I'm stop being lazy.
Yeah, you are lazy, Tyler.
Yeah, there's one thing you know about me.
Listening to your laundry list of to-dos, that was the one thing I would say. That'd be Tyler's 2017 hashtag, lazy.
No, that's the hashtag of my past 20 years.
It's changing now.
Well, if people want to reach out to you on social media and find out more about what you're doing and keep up with you, where do they go?
You can go to Facebook. You can go to the Star Wars Podcast Alliance Facebook group. You can also go to the Skywalking Through Neverland Facebook group, because I am in there. There's a lot of people that are only in the Skywalking group that I consider like just really, really fantastic people. Like Jeremy Hunt is a guy I know really well. Jeremy's in there. Somebody named Brian Sims is a guy I really like a lot. He's in there as well. And there's a ton of really great podcasters and people in the Podcast Alliance. There's a lot of crossover there. You can find me on Twitter at TWesthouse. You can find me on StarWars.com. If you just type in my name and StarWars.com, you can read a couple of my articles and features there. I have an Instagram somewhere. I don't know what the name is, but I'm sure you can find it. Not many Westhouses in the world. Yeah, that's really about it. Hit me up on Twitter and I can talk to you about goofy Star Wars stuff.
All right. Now, Sarah, I got to ask you, what is your personal goal for 2017 to wrap this up? So make it good.
Okay. Well, my goal, our lives are very focused on our podcast. So I'm going to go with a podcast goal. And that is to extend our Skywalker family to anyone that needs maybe that safe, welcoming place on the internet. So, or even just in
fandom.
In fandom. Yeah. So I just hope, our family just becomes even more tight-knit and awesome and has more people.
Oh, it's going to grow exponentially at Celebration Orlando.
Yeah. How much fun.
Yeah. I just cannot wait for that.
Me too.
We had made so many more family members at that last Anaheim gathering.
Yeah.
And I just can't wait for it to grow further and further. And as people always say, we want that positive place to go for our fandom.
Yes.
Well, the door is open. If you're positive, the door is open.
Yes. Yes. Like all of you Skywalkers and Facebook watchers.
Now, one of my personal goals for 2017 is something that I didn't even think about until Tricia Barr had brought it up. I want to be the rebel spy. Now, I want to do it officially.
Like the right way?
The right way. I don't want anyone to say, you know what? Rich has been on this ride 8,052 times. Maybe it's his time.
But if you don't know that someone says that.
But I'm just putting it out there. If we're going to do a meetup in April and we're all going to Walt Disney World and we're all going on Star Tours, I just don't want someone to tell the ride operator, you know what, maybe focus on this guy right over here so we can stop whining about it.
What would you do if you became the rebel spy?
I would never stop talking about it.
No, I mean like that what would you do in that moment and then right after the ride? Would you buy the t-shirt?
I would have to apologize to the person on the other side of me. You'll be on one side, the other person. The ride is already starting. Stop yelling and screaming. The ride is now over. Stop yelling. Rich, it's time to go to bed. Stop woohooing.
Oh.
So yeah, I would buy the shirt and I would wear it every single day.
Okay. Or at least for our periscopes.
Yeah. Another personal goal is just taking Skywalking through Neverland on whole new levels.
Mine too.
This is what we talked about. We had a big meeting with ourselves on the way home from Arizona about what can we do to take it to the next level.
And we have some fun ideas. So Skywalkers, stay tuned.
Yeah. And if you want to email us, or should we post this on Facebook?
Post what?
What direction?
What ideas? Oh yeah.
Would you, because we want this to be all inclusive.
Yeah, I thought I already did. I guess not.
Yeah. So we have some plans, but you guys are just as much of Skywalking through Neverland as we are. So we want to hear where your input is. We have some content coming up, which I'm very excited about, and new platforms.
Yes.
Do we want to tell them about
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. It's a surprise.
No? Okay. So we've been having some secret meetings on Facebook with some people, and
yes.
Leave it at that.
And some research and some things. So
yes. So we're every year we like taking the podcast on a whole new and bigger level.
Yes.
Growing. # growing.
That's a good hashtag for the show.
All right. With that, let's wrap up this episode 151, our New Year's episode of Skywalking Through Neverland.
We would like to thank Bryan Young, Tricia Barr, Mark Daniel, and Tyler Westhouse, and of course, all of you Skywalkers for taking the time out of your busy schedules and listening.
And listen to our soundtrack to the podcast, which is Rob Dellinger's Skywalking Through Neverland Awesome Jingle Mix Volume 1.
Yes, you can find it on all digital platforms, including iTunes. So if you purchase that, you really help support the show, and especially Rob Dellinger.
And you can also support the next meetup. Well, not the next meetup, but one that's coming up in September.
Yes, September 20th.
Hold on, first, acknowledge my segue.
That was wonderful segue.
Okay, moving right along.
Yeah, so Skywalkers, September 17th through 22nd, 2017, that's this year, we are doing a 5-night Skywalking Disney cruise to Baja, Mexico on the Disney Wonder. Now, we have never done a Disney cruise before. We're so excited. And what makes it even awesomer is it's going to be, this is confirmed, a Halloween on the High Seas cruise. So there are people already signed up who are joining our group, but there are still slots left. So if you're interested to get more info, you just go to storiesofthemagic.com/cruise quote and click on the orange Get a Quote button. And that will give you a free, no obligation quote. And in the comments section, please mention Skywalking Through Neverland. Now, we are doing this in conjunction with Randy Crane, who hosts the Stories of the Magic podcast. And it's going to be really awesome because you go through him. He's going to schedule our times. We're going to schedule some meetups. We're going to have like dinner times together and stuff and eat at the same table. It's going to be so cool. So everyone, please just go to the storiesofthemagic.com/cruise quote. And yeah, it'll be really fun. So we hope you can join us.
We already have about 10 people joining us. And if you think I'm excitable now, get me on a cruise with a Halloween theme.
Oh my gosh. That's going to be amazing. And yeah, if you can possibly do that, that would be amazing.
Yeah, someone just said...
Glenn says half marathon meetup.
Yeah. Oh. So this January 15th, which is the day of the Star Wars Half Marathon at Disneyland.
Yes.
Afterwards, we'll be doing a meetup. So we should start promoting
plan that.
Glenn
Yes.
Steiner, are you coming this year to?
Are you coming to the Disneyland one?
A week from this
Like
coming
a week
weekend?
and a half, yeah.
Yeah, let us know. We'll definitely do a meetup. Definitely.
Oh, he is coming. Oh, cool.
Oh, good deal.
Yay. All right, so yeah, we'll have to plan that.
All right. And you know what else we should plan? Listening to more Retro Zap shows and podcasts.
Awesome.
See, there you go. Another segue.
That's right.
Where you can hear shows like Deuce Cast Movie Show,
The Techno Retro Dads,
Trade Federation Podcast,
and Brews and Blasters, of course, which we were on one of their episodes this past...
talking about Rogue One.
Yeah, December.
And Talking Apes TV, where we talk about vintage Planet of the Apes. And in just another 2 weeks, the anthology book will be coming out, and I'm very, very excited, which takes place in the vintage ape era.
Nice. All right, Skywalkers. Well, if you want to continue this conversation, you can do it on social media, and we are at Skywalking Pod, where most social media is. So Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, all of those. And if you want to join our Facebook group and have not already, this is different than a Facebook page. This is a Facebook group that you can join and get to know other Skywalkers in our Skywalker family. All you have to do is search Skywalker Facebook group on Facebook and you request to join. But it's a 2-step process, so after you do that, please, please, please find us on another social media, either Twitter or the Facebook page, whatever, and say, hey, I requested to join under this name, because sometimes your names are different on different social media, and please let me in, I'm a listener. All right? So you have to do those 2 steps. We have denied a bunch of people this Christmas. I don't know who's requesting to join, but they're not doing the 2-step process, so we don't let them in. All right, we want it to be a safe space for everyone.
Safe indeed.
Yeah.
All right, now stay tuned for bits of conversation that didn't make it into the show right after all the credits and stuff, as well as more bloopers. And more bloopers and more bloopers.
Yay.
When we just couldn't say things correctly, and by we, I mean me.
That's right. Now, always remember...
Neverland on Alderaan.
Some imagination, huh?
To our Skywalkers and Tweetwalkers, thanks for listening. Skywalking Through Neverland is created and produced by Richard and Sarah Woloski. Original music by Rob Dellinger. Creative consultant Mark Augushowitz. Technical advisor Peter Heitman. Facebook administrators Donald Wicks, Joey Pittman, and Norma Heitman.
Skywalking Through Neverland is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Any sounds, music, and clips played during this podcast are the property of their copyright holders. All original content is property of Skywalking Through Neverland, all rights reserved. Sorry, had to be said. Happy New Year, Skywalkers! Welcome to our year-end wrap-up. So here is our regular co-host, Tricia Barr. So here she is in all her regularity, Tricia Barr.
That doesn't sound good. I pressed this big red button.
Yes, you did.
Okay. So you were doing that first part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Excuse me.
That's not right. No, that's not right either. Right.
Yeah. Well, did you hear that more from fans or from the media? Because I heard it more from the media.
Mainly it was the Hollywood Reporter that I was reading that consternation in, but there were a lot of fans and I'm in way too many Facebook groups and I get way too many emails from fans that are nervous. And there's this understandable anxiety where they want Star Wars to be the best it can be. And there was this anxiety. And so we kind of put out, with Bobby Roberts, he put out an episode of Full of Sith where he took just 20 minutes and deconstructed why reshoots were a good thing. And we got so much mail from people saying, I was super nervous about this, but this talked me off the ledge. So yeah, it was out there a lot with fans.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a particular female director you would like to see direct a Star Wars film?
I think Catherine Bigelow could take a movie just like Rogue One and give us that really gritty war film the same way Gareth Edwards did, but maybe we could do it with from a more female perspective.
Did Catherine do what was that movie?
Hurt Locker?
She did The Hurt Locker. Yeah,
Right.
she won Best Director for
Right.
The Hurt Locker.
Wow.
So I think there's a lot of interesting there's a lot of interesting choices. There's another one I can't think of off the top of my head. I think she did that movie about Martin Luther King and the walk. I want to say Ava DuVernay, but I'm probably wrong.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, but I think yes, that's her. I think she'd be really interesting. She would bring an interesting perspective in there, especially given some of the subject matter. It was Selma that she did with Star Wars alum David Oyelowo.
Yeah.
Oyelowo. I never know how to pronounce his name.
Well, I know. Oyelowo. I heard him on a podcast, and he pronounced it the traditional way it was supposed to be pronounced. It was something totally different than what we say.
You know what?
Yeah.
Let's call Lupita Nyong'o and ask her how to pronounce it.
David O.
But so she directed a film with him where he was playing Martin Luther King, and I think that struggle that came out in something like Selma could very easily be applied. That paintbrush could be used to paint something in Star Wars of that struggle, and I think that could be really interesting.
Yeah, if they do call on Catherine Bigelow, I almost hope they don't have her do another Rogue One or Hurt Locker type of film, because then people will just say, well, she's already done a movie like this, which is why you hired her, instead of, well, she's got a unique vision and really knows characters. There's always going to be something someone's going to say about no matter what.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But I mean, there's definitely really interesting possibilities, and I will take Kathleen Kennedy at her word that none of them have jumped up to try to take that opportunity yet. And when they do, that Lucasfilm would work with them to tell the best story they can.
In Rogue One, at the very end, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, $400 million. Was there a small part of you that wanted Jyn and Cassian to kiss right before the Scarif was about to be obliterated?
No.
Okay.
No. I feel like the ending, you could interpret it if you wanted it to be.
Right.
But I don't know necessarily in that moment that would be, if I were a person and I knew I were about to die, I don't think I would be thinking, hey, I want to lock lips with this person.
Right. But you as a Star Wars fan watching that moment, did you want those two characters to kiss or do something more intimate?
No, because I didn't feel like there was anything developed between them that would...
It would come out of nowhere, basically.
Yeah, I actually felt more that if I were going to want to see something and I felt it was more established, would have been from Chirrut and Baze. So, you know, but you don't need to be explicit about it. But sometimes it's nice to have a story where it is explicit. So I guess Empire Strikes Back is still considered the best Star Wars movie, and it had romance in it. So,
in Episode 8, do you want to see Rey and Finn get together?
I don't really feel like Rey has that story. I don't know, because I don't see it as a storyteller that where she's going would have that happen. I know Kelly Marie Tran is coming on board, and it sounds like she'll be acting up against John Boyega's Finn, so we might see a little bit there. And that might be cool, but I don't see it for what Rey is doing and where she's going that would naturally occur in the next story. So I don't necessarily think it'll happen. And I didn't look at those characters like that was something that was between them. It was more always like they were brother and sister.
Yeah,
Right.
but a lot of films will feel it necessary to ship characters by the end and have them get married, dissolve to the women in the hospital having their first baby.
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem like that. I mean, I don't have that. I don't look at a character and go, I like her, therefore I want her to ship with somebody.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Well, right. The Rey is more like the Luke Skywalker in that she's on her own path. Luke was always on his own solitary path, whereas Luke and Leia could kind of have their thing because they were almost supporting his journey.
Storytelling, you're absolutely correct, but for marketing and trying to get as many of the audiences in there, little boys, little girls, more teenage girls, got to have that romance factor. And I'm so glad they're going against the grain.
I think what they're in going with Rogue One, the cool thing is that they are going to explore different genres. I'm not sure Rogue One was trying to be a war story, maybe a heist. It didn't really do well kind of capturing what it wanted to be as a genre, but I think there's an opportunity there to create romance in a Star Wars movie that people will enjoy and have fun with, because I mean, it's just it is, if you talk about Star Wars from the beginning, it is an element of it. So I don't want it to be forgotten. As a fan of the franchise, that's one of the things I enjoyed.
So you're in for a
surprise.
surprise.
Feel free to hit me with hard-hitting political questions.
Yeah, that's what we listen to on Skywalking.
I'm going to talk to you about that in sports.
I'll talk about sports.
Yeah, you'll be alone too.
You'll be alone.
Would you be upset if, when you ask what are you looking forward to most, they say, I think the Dallas Cowboys going to the playoffs, and then my favorite highlight of 2016 is the Cubs?
You can say that, and we'll insert some cricket sounds. So now our final guest has been blooper reel.
Always remember
to listen to our bloopers and outtakes.